Hello, 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 everyone. We are live. You are here with Dave Jose. I wanted to get with you guys. I know that we have um, a little bit of time before the show starts, 7 minutes, but I'm here, so I didn't want to keep you guys waiting. I wanted to talk to you guys real quick, and I wanted to make sure that we took out time to talk before everybody came on. I wanted to pray real quick and then we will get ready. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Father. We thank you for your goodness and mercy and truth. We thank you for loving us, Father. We thank you for bringing people together, Father, to have discussion and understanding, Father, that we might be able to stand and increase the wisdom in the nation, increase the power of the people in the nation, Father, and help people to be able to stand in full confidence, trusting in what they have read and what they know. We thank you so much for this day, Father. We thank you so much for Mr. Clements coming on, and we thank you so much for Josh Barnett coming on. And Father, we just ask that you allow this meeting to be expedient, Father, that we are able to discuss our issues in peace, and that we are able to do it in love, Father, and show the people, Father, what is that truth that we should be standing on. We thank you so much for this day, Father. We thank you so much for your blessings, and it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, what's up, everybody? How y'all living? I hope that everybody is doing well today. I want to say much love and peace. Hey, Nicole D, what's up? Agent O, True Patriot, what's up? Hey, Lisa. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Angie. Hey, Epileptic Pilot, Flying Straight. What's up, Stanley? What's up, Sean? What's up, Tara? What's up, Stella McCoy in the his house? What's up, Glenna? What's up, Bogarten? What's up, Holy Cats? What's up, Thomas Blake? Band and Machines in the house. Just say his name, get me blocked off of YouTube. What's up, Todd from Alabama? How are you today? What's up, AC Patriot? Truth prevails. Jamie Casillas. Big Chap in the house. Jeff Winter, what's up? Tacoma, Washington. Jomo Mitch in the house. Mona, how you living? Jim Crowell, how you living? Lady Phoenix, how you living? I hope all of you guys are well today. I hope you guys are. Hey, Cypherpunk. I hope you guys, who is Bill Bailey? I hope you guys are enjoying the day. I hope you guys get to enjoy this show and we get to deal with some powerful things that should change the way that we look at what's going on in the nation. News from Georgia, know what? Is that fake news? Celestial Wayne in the house. Kirk Thomas. Celestial Wayne, it's an amazing thing to see you because you're always on fire and standing up and going in super hard every single freaking day. I don't know if you take a break, you're in it and at it every day. It's great. We got Aussie in the house. Dennis Hutchison, what's up? Living the dream. Let's keep it from becoming a nightmare. That's right. Michael, Washington State here. Timothy Archer, good morning. Honorable Sir Dave, you're an inspiration, my friend. Thank you so much. It's all God. Sheila, thank you so much. You know, guys, a lot of people are realizing that they're learning some new things, you know, and it's not me that is responsible for the new things we're learning. Is God, you know, like, if I had to leave it to myself and say, would I leave myself on the cooker as long as God did, I would say, no, I wouldn't. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I literally prayed to God and I said, God, can you just give me my little guys back and let me go on with my life and be able to play with them? I don't want you to strengthen my heart. Right? Excuse me. I'm like, I don't want you to strengthen my heart. I just want you to get the little guys back, and I promise I'll be good, and I'll do this and I'll do that. Now, sorry guys, I just took some stuff, whatever, with cayenne in it, and every time I do this, it gets me. Cayenne is very good, guys, for getting rid of anything that's like in your lungs, in your throat, your sinuses. Cayenne is like some fire stuff, so I love it. I've been taking a lot of cayenne and burdock root, and oh my gosh, like I've tried fasting and taking burdock root. Hey, Jerry. And taking burdock root, and it's been amazing because when you take the burdock root, it starts to get any phlegm out of your body. That's one that Dr. Sebi taught a lot of the people about. And I have this woman who is an herbalist who just puts together, yeah, that peppermint stuff is fire too. I just put some on my nose earlier. Yep, straight lemon juice. Anything with citrus, get busy. Hey, Divine Sovereign. Everybody share this. Let's get it out. Hey, Grace Morris. We got the professor on, guys. We're going to bring him in. Hello, Professor. How is it? It is nice to meet you.
Hi, Mr. Jose. How are you doing, sir?
You're actually on the stream already because I had it going live already, just so you know, before you start talking, so you're not caught off guard.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me well?
I can. You sound great.
I got this little light voice, but I'm working on it.
Well, you too. A lot of people have commented on how quiet I am, and some people, I know some people find it soothing. Other people find it really annoying. They want the loud, boisterous types. I can't mail it in. I've got the voice I've got, but I understand that for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. So yeah, I know I think we're on a little bit early. We got 1 minute, but I'll just start talking. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And I know that there were some concerns, that I had. I don't think it's 100% fair to you because there's a past and there's other things that are going on that you're not part of. And so I think sometimes when things are said and there's no background to what's going on, words of one person can be used in a way that is not good if there is an agenda. I'm not going to say there's an agenda. If there is, and I'm not saying an agenda from you. So what I mean is, you're a professor, right? And you're known. I've had like probably 10 people reach out to me over the last month and a half and say, Dave, you got to get with the professor. Oh my gosh, you'll love him. You got to get with him, right? And the reason that I had an issue, and I'll tell you what my issues were so you know everything and you could think on it and let me know where you're coming from. But the reason I had an issue is not necessarily just because of what was said, but more so because you're a professor. And the people of our nation, there's certain doctors, professors, lawyers, judges, government officials, a lot of times, or even teachers, right? Our psychology has been built our schema has been made in such a way that we look up to certain people. So when certain things are said, it has an influence on people, no matter, if you're trying to say it to influence people, if you're just speaking, people are going to be affected. And so you said something at the end of what you said, or the comments that I had concern with, you said, listen, I'm not trying to discourage anybody. And that was good that you said that. My thing is when people hear the other things, they may take what you say and view it in a certain way. And because I wasn't allowed to come on and talk to you, I couldn't address the issue. So I'm like, shucks, he's a professor. We got a whole bunch of people fighting. And the whole nation will listen to everything he says, even if he's trying to say it to do that or not, And so that's why I had an issue and I wanted to come on. I wasn't allowed to come on. So the things kind of just, I wanted the people to be able to know where I'm coming from and why I say what I say and do what I do. And I think we shared some of the same comments or ideas and thoughts. I went back and listened to more of the beginning of the video and heard some of the things you said. And I said, yeah. And Josh went and watched some stuff. He said, yeah, he's a very strong guy. You think a lot alike. So I wanted to let you know that nothing was meant to be unfair to you. I do believe that you have a fight that is against the corruption and the wrong that is happening. And I believe that is in your heart. So I don't want it to look like in front of anybody that I don't think, that is inside of you. I believe in what you say. I believe that's really what you're about. So that was the issue. So I'll let you respond to that or say whatever you want to say. And then I'll let you know what the issues were.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing I would say is I was kind of shocked at, I was editing videos. I was the third interview that I'd done of the day. I've recorded interviews, and anyone that's ever rendered or edited videos knows it's a very time-consuming process. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while I check on Telegram, and then I started getting a bunch of people saying, hey, why you ducking Dave Jose? Why you ducking him? And I had no idea what they're talking about. So I go over to YouTube and I see you kind of discussing that podcast I was on earlier. And frankly, I was shocked at why my name was getting dragged through the mess, because what people don't know, and apparently what you didn't know, is that I've seen your name, but I've never listened to anything that you had to say. Mm-hmm. That little bit, I think this was about an hour and 40-minute live stream. That was the basically the last 4 or 5 minutes. It was just brought up out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. No one mentioned your name in relationship to this affidavit idea. That was actually brought up by Bill Bailey. And he said, hey, professor, did you see the affidavit I sent you? Okay. Mm-hmm. That's all the context I get. Mm-hmm. I said, yes, because I like Bill. And I looked at it, but there was no context, and I couldn't even respond to Bill based on what he said. Mm-hmm. Now, real time, I'm trying to piece together, one, what's the significance of this? Because I don't know. Mm-hmm. And two, trying to figure out real time, like how I can process this. Mm-hmm. And what I like to do, and I said this, if you'll recall, mm-hmm. It sounds good. This sounds like a natural law argument. I love mm-hmm. those. Mm-hmm. And I encourage that. And so without knowing anything about this affidavit argument, if people listen to the interview, mm-hmm. I gave it an endorsement. That's the thing that pisses me off, is I gave it an endorsement and I got mm-hmm. picked apart. Okay, so go back to the video. You'll see that I commented all of probably 30 seconds total, and everyone else mm-hmm. was doing the talking. Mm-hmm. And then because of bruised egos or backfighting or whatever it is behind the scenes, which I'm not aware of, mm-hmm. everyone wants to impute an agenda mm-hmm. because of someone else's relationship. Well, I don't do that. I mean, mm-hmm. it's very pharisaical, in my opinion. I'm gonna search the truth, and if that means that I got to get on this show and talk with you, David, I'm gonna talk with you. Mm-hmm. And it's up for people to make up their own mind about whether they think your idea is great, my idea is great. And something else that your audience needs to know. I get that I'm a professor. I get that I'm a trial attorney. I get and I agree with your sense that sometimes people like me get an automatic pass. Well, let me push back against that. In my world, I don't get that pass. In my world, what you all don't see is every academic professional coming after me day in and day out. I go on Tucker Carlson. You guys see the platform. You don't see the 1,000 emails I get from haters. The other thing that you need to know is that I've been the most vocal critic of my profession, of the judges, to the point where no one wants to associate with me in the legal profession. So I'm the son of a guy that bagged groceries for a living. My mom worked at Kmart. My mom worked at Walmart. And so, I just don't have the patience for the battle that's going on between the patriots, because we're treading water when we do that. And so I would love to hear about the notice of affidavit argument. My illustrations or analogies, I think I'll still be able to stand by them. But a lot of people said, well, why did he bring up the sovereign citizen movement? Why did he bring up some things? Well, let's keep this in context. Again, with that backdrop, you now know how much I knew about your argument.
Well, I will give you credit with that, because I did see you came out and said, I don't know about this affidavit. You know, I haven't had a chance to review it yet. So I did hear you say that or explain that. You might have not said the exact same words, but I do agree. I did hear you say that. And that's why in the beginning of the call, I said, well, this one, I said, you know, I think that there's some things that happen that you may not understand or know about. And that's why I agree with you on that, because I deduced that you couldn't know everything that was happening. I could tell.
What I could tell you is this: I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. So I want to be really clear that I'm not fighting against a caricature of a position that I don't hold. Because when I reached out to you, it was, I don't know your argument. I don't know your position. I don't know you. I know the company that you keep, and I like the company that you keep, and that's the reason why I'm on the show. But when I brought up the biggest thing that people were running with was, well, why would he bring up sovereign citizen? To me, the sovereign citizen argument is the ultimate we the people. And on the extremes or on the spectrum, I realize it's the most extreme. That's why I said it. Just like nullification, guess what? That's extreme. But you know who talked about nullification? Jefferson, Madison, in the Virginia ratifications, in the Kentucky ratifications. They said we were duty bound. So I don't laugh at that. I don't laugh at natural law arguments, whether it's sovereign citizen, whether it's nullification, and things that are less extreme, like quo warranto. Now, if people that have followed me, they'll know that I've done quo warranto roundtables. And people ask me, and they're putting all their faith in quo warranto. I'm like, I'm going to encourage you. Do it. Do you think I'm going to win? I tell them, I don't know. I hope so. I can pray for it. But this is my concern. My concern is that you're going to run into that buzzsaw known as standing. And everyone wanted to argue with me saying, well, it's different. I'm like, I get that it's different. But lo and behold, that Arizona case that was brought on quo warranto was dismissed on standing. The one in Washington, D.C. was dismissed on standing. So I don't like being the bearer of bad news or shitting on people's legal theories. I'm cheering them on and saying, look, let's work it. Let's come around, Dave. Let's support whatever mechanism that we have to reclaim the republic. But let's make sure that we're going into it with sobriety. And that was my caution without knowing anything. So that would be my response to where I was when I said this. And as far as the other stuff, my biggest concern right now, David, and the reason why I'm on this show is because we're so close to victory. And I believe we're close to victory.
I tell Josh that all the time. I agree 100%. We're right there.
We're close. The infighting is magnifying, and some of it's external. Some of it is from the Mark Elias folks, the bots, the trolls, and they're pitting people against one another. A lot of the fight is from within. It's I don't like getting hurt. I don't like being attacked. It's ego. It's pride. It's looking at other people's subscribers. It's looking at other people's platform. Your people need to know I could give two shits about my platform, the number of subscribers I have, any of that. I don't care about it. In fact, if everyone here could forget about who I am and I could get my country back, I'd take it right now. So that's my response. I would love to unpack whatever you want to unpack. I've got an interview in a bit with Dr. Frank, but I wanted to come on because I want unity.
All right.
I don't like seeing this bad. I don't like seeing this fight.
Exactly.
Hold on one second for me, Josh. Josh, hold on one second for me. I'll try to go really fast with what I have, just so I don't take up too much of your time, because I don't know how much you have. Really quick, I just want to say, so I understand what you said about like how much backstory you have. So one of the things that got me is that on the show with you guys, while you were there, Gail Golick said, hey, so what do you think about this notice and affidavit? David Jose did a notice and affidavit, and he's saying that she named my name, and she said, he's saying that it works. And then Bill Bailey said, yeah, well, we're working with David Jose, right? Now, it's not about me. I tell people I'm a nothing. I'm a nobody without God, period. I want people to win. So Gail came out and said these things. And then Susan Settembrino, she came out and she said, well, she laughed a little bit and said, if I did this, I would get kicked out of court. And I understand that because you're an attorney. So my thing is, when it comes to the people and what is real, I look at it like you guys as attorneys and trial lawyers, right? You have what you have learned in school, and that's what's been taught to you. The procedure you have been taught is what you use. You guys have a procedure for going to court all the time. The people, I believe, are different. And I do realize that even I make some arguments that seem extreme or even crazy to the average man, especially people who are highly educated. But the reason is because I believe I have the same belief as you, that those who are controlling the education are really limiting the truth. Because if you say that you believe that your legal profession is a bunch of crap, like I can't remember the exact word you use, but it's full of bull. Like it's a lot of bad stuff.
I refer to it as there is a secret fraternity within law enforcement, within the judicial profession, within academia. I got into academia because no one was looking. If they did their research, I wouldn't have gotten in. And I agree with you. One of the things that I've got with my students is it's not purely academic. I was a prosecutor for a decade. So this was born of experience, not me just reading a books. And it's also been born of seeing corruption firsthand. So when Snowden gave his revelations about NSA surveillance, I was at ground zero overseeing a task force that had the DEA in it, and they were using the program known as PRISM. Now, I didn't say, hey, blue line, let me support you. What did I do? I investigated. I took on my district attorney. I dismissed every case that I could discern used PRISM because it was a violation of the Confrontation Clause. It was a violation of people's rights. It was a violation of the Brady Law. And I had to go into a judge's chambers to let him know that we've got corruption in my task force. I've seen judges. I've seen corrupt judges. I've seen police chiefs. I've had agents that have worked for me that are now in a federal prison because of peddling child pornography. So the theoretical, I get that, but I've been fighting corruption from within and out. And this is I'm not an ivory tower person. The reason why I've been vocal about the academic setting is that I understand how the Constitution's been hijacked. I understand how we, the people, has been hijacked. And anyone who sits in my classroom thinks that they get a glowing endorsement of the law as it is. I've got something for you. And so it's been trying to open eyes, shine a light on the truth, and empower we, the people, because I know my history and I know the law, Dave. And so I know that the attraction for folks is if they don't have a law degree, if they're not a professor, and they resonate with someone who also is like them, doesn't have that, we get these factions. We've got the holy man, David Jose, who's speaking truth bombs, but he doesn't have a law degree. And I see more of myself in him. So what do? They get into Team David Jose. For me, it's, well, he's a professor. He's educated. I like that. Let's get in Team Professor Clements. And what I'm telling to the people out there, stop worshiping the platform leaders.
That's what I say.
It's not helping. It doesn't help. I don't appeal to authority. When people ask me my stuff, either my arguments have merit or they don't, because I know that authority doesn't work. Don't listen to David because I've got a doctorate. You would never hear me say that. And your listeners need to know that. So when I listen to the notice of affidavit argument that I want to hear today, I'm going to listen. And I'm going to try to figure out how can we turn that into victory, and how can I rally around you. But what I'm going to ask from you and everyone else going forward is, if we've got beef with Susan, who I didn't know, if we've got beef with Gail, who I barely know, but I was invited on her show and I've had her on because I wanted insights into Arizona, that we don't air our dirty laundry outside of this. That's why I give people my cell number. I tell them, call me.
Well, and that's the thing for me. I usually go to somebody one-on-one, but the issue for me is when something is said publicly, everybody hears it. And if we talk one-on-one, nobody else hears what happened, how we dealt with it. It's just quiet. And then everybody else who deserves to know the law, everybody else who's fighting to seek the truth, they don't get to hear it. So let me give you these few things, because I don't know how much time you got. So I'm going to tell you what some of the things that kind of made me feel like people might hear this and take it the wrong way because of what you are. So for instance, number one was at 1 hour, 16 minutes and 23 seconds. You started out about talking about the affidavit after Gail and Susan had talked and said, oh, David is saying this about the affidavits. And I know you probably didn't know who I was. I don't know. But
I didn't. I don't. Yeah. This is the first time we've met.
Yeah. So what happened is, and as I told you, people told me to go see you and get with you, but I've never been able to do anything or take the time to do it. So number one, you started on, you were saying, I'm going to pour some ice water on that. And you talked about some of the patriot concepts and the things that would get people laughed out of court. But Susan said it first. Susan said, yeah, well, if I did this, they'll laugh me out of court, And so you brought that up. Number two was case law precedents over the last 200 years eroded the Constitution. 1 hour and 16 minutes. You mentioned that it was similar to the sovereign citizen argument. You did not say this is the sovereign citizen argument. You said it's similar to, this idea could be similar to. And now
what I said, Dave, what I said was the people, natural law arguments are very similar.
Yeah.
Now I know that they're in the mechanics of them, they're very different.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime what I'm talking about in that respect, when we're pouring cold ice water, it's not on the affidavit, it's not quo warranto. It's not.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you meant about that. What that terms mean, because I don't use it.
But what it means is this: is that you have to understand that the people that are the gatekeepers, and this will probably be the most helpful point for how to be victorious going forward, is people need to understand that the law is force. The law is force. And so my eye is always going to be on what is the mechanism for force. Because if we're talking about a legal theory, or perhaps it's not a legal theory, maybe it's a we the people theory, but at some point, the discussion of who's going to do what to make people make this right has to be a part of the conversation.
Yes.
So a mechanism for force, if it's we the people, would be, well, let's get the sheriff involved. The reason why I would ask that is, okay, a lot of us think, well, that's the way we go. Until you find out that the Maricopa sheriff has gotten $2 million from George Soros.
That's right.
X. Guess what? That mechanism of force is gone.
You got $3 million in 2018.
All right. So what I'm saying is, like, I would agree from a constitutional standpoint that he represents us. We vote him into office, and we should be able to trust our sheriffs. But can we in Maricopa? So it's a mechanism of force. So that's ice water. People don't like that if their entire construct is based on the sheriff. If they want to talk about quo warranto, and I say it's a brilliant remedy because it fits. And during that interview, you'll hear me say, this fits. The problem is the psychological implications of what the remedy asks for. I know out of human nature, these judges, if they're not corrupt, will act out of cowardice. And they've done that. So it's not even a legal rationale. It's not even a legal argument, but they're going to look for standing. Guess what happened? That mechanism of force, the courtroom, gone.
Yep.
And so that's going to be my question to you for the notice of affidavit is, how is this going to be accomplished? Because I've been very vocal. Look, this was a coup. The takeover of our country was a coup. And I went on Tucker Carlson. I didn't mince words about what happened. The election was stolen and law enforcement was complicit. So when we're having these discussions and we're trying to, when I talk about ice water, it's what's your faith in? I believe we're going to win. I say all this stuff and it sounds depressing. Well, why do I think we're going to win? Because I think it's a time that God has ordained to have a bunch of people shining the truth, irrespective of the law, irrespective of the corruption that we see, irrespective of the bad actors in the legislature, in the courts. And so, so what I'm fearful of, Dave, is I just don't want you to spend too much time parsing the differences between sovereignty. I get that. And you also notice that I probably chatted, I put in the private chat during that thing that I have to get off. My kids are coming in the house. So the amount of scrutiny from a context standpoint, I'm just telling you right now, it was a shock for me to spend 30 seconds talking on it and then inherit the aftermath. So that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to unpack.
So I'll hit the two things. I'll deal with the force of what it is that I see that we have as the people. And I will just deal with the truth based on law. So first off, I would like to say that I don't believe in legal theories. Theories are something that you approach with a hypothesis, and you're looking at other things that may have worked in the past, and you're creating an idea for what may work in the future. It's like you're creating something that comes from an educated guess. Well, for me, I don't use any of that. And I believe that the psychology of the people is what dictates what happens in every nation across the world at all times. If a government has a problem with the people realizing that they are doing wrong, it makes a big problem for the government. So starting in 1938 in real life, you know what, this isn't like this is written when they came with the Green New Deal, and attorneys started to learn administrative law rather than the principles of constitutional law or common law. What ended up happening is you created another set of government entities that did the same thing that happened during the Declaration of Independence. Now, when that happened, they stopped teaching in school the true law or the state constitutions, which is the trust indenture for the government officials. So because we look at the law, and predominantly in law, we hear more attorneys talk about what does the statute say. And they pay very little attention to the Constitution. Now, the reason that is important is because every state constitution is a trust indenture. And when people look at the law backwards and think that their government officials get to tell them what to do, people will say, David, if you say that, that seems extreme. But I want to ask you a simple question to see if you would think it's extreme based on a trust argument. When you look at the state constitution, who created it? Right? And when you look at who created it, the people did it. And the government officials now will say that they have immunity, right? But the trust indenture, the Constitution, is the only thing that we can use to grant authority. Anything that is not granted doesn't belong to you. In simplicity, that's exactly what it is. Now, I cannot grant what I don't have. So the government now and the attorneys are saying that they have all types of immunity. So where did they get the immunity from? If they have immunity, it can only be given to them by somebody who granted them power in their seat. The bar attorneys are not government. They're private organizations, private associations that pretty much rule themselves, except for when dealing in court. So if you have a private association that is not government, and they're telling everybody what the law is, and as officers of the court interfering with every part of government against separation of powers doctrine, then what happens is that you get a situation where the people believe that whatever the attorneys say is the law, which is usually statutory, and whatever the Constitution says is extreme. So now it becomes a psychological issue where the people perish for a lack of knowledge. Because the attorneys are hiding the law, like Jesus said in Luke 11:52, he said, woe unto you lawyers. And he tells them, because you hide the key of knowledge. And those who try to enter in, you hinder, and you are not entering yourself. So the lawyers are not walking in the law because they have bypassed the fundamental law and trust indenture called the Constitution. And then what they're doing is trying to teach everybody that statutes are what is important, and they can do anything they want to that's in the statute. Without the governing document, that's the trust indenture called the Constitution. So you're using bylaws that bind the government officials when you should be looking at the fundamental principles and fundamental law, as our forefathers said. And it is our duty as the people to teach the government. And if we don't, as Arizona Constitution says in Article 2, Section 1, a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles is essential for a free government. And the people maintain their individual rights. We don't have collective rights that come from the legislature. The legislature can't write rights for us. We have rights that were given by God, and the people in the trust indenture declared what our rights were that were untouchable. And then we told the government officials, you can be our servants and trustees and follow what we say. You can make statutes based on the power we give you to carry out the business we tell you to carry out for our benefit. Now, that seems extreme, but I can prove it all the way through every state constitution. And I'm not saying this based on theory. It's written. Our forefathers said it. It's in the trust indenture as guaranteed powers that every government official of the state swore to uphold.
All right. Well, Dave, here's my question to you, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with a word you say, and I hope when you say you're not referring to me, because I don't teach that way.
No, not you. I'm saying,
But what I would say is, what's your mechanism of force to achieve what you want to do? Because that's the $1 million question.
Yes, sir. So here's my mechanism of force. Number one, courts, all of us should know this, believe in the perception of fairness. The legislature believes in the perception of fairness. Neither one of them said they're going to be fair to you. They said they believe in the perception. They say judges should be impartial. That doesn't mean they'll be impartial. So I heard you say this yesterday, and you were 100% correct. You mentioned the word administrative. A lot of these things are administrative. Most people would never catch what the heck you said right there, but it was very enlightening and powerful. When we think we're going into a court and it's an executive branch agency like CPS, Highway Safety Act, all these different entities, child support enforcement, is administrative hearings based on, for child support and CPS, Title 42, which is a non-positive law. It's a compilation, editorial compilation of what they call laws. The problem with enforcing is they get one man or woman in what they call a court that's not a court, it's a legislative tribunal working under something that's not a positive law, where the very positive law in the Social Security Act of 1935 clearly says in its own text and its origin, its constitution and preamble, it tells you that it is done for revenue generation purposes. And then in 11016D, it says nothing in this act shall be construed as authorizing any federal agent, officer, or representative to take charge of any child over the objection of either parent. Now, Title 42 has a ton of things in there that if you try to read it all, it'll take you days. So when a mother or father is fighting and an attorney brings something into a legislative tribunal and says, under Title 42, I have the right to take your kid and adopt them out. The problem is the people can't enforce anything because it's a legislative tribunal, a private court that is not working under the Constitution or the rule of law, period. So when the people fail to address the issue and tell the court what the Social Security Act says, because it says either the mother or father object or the person standing in loco parentis to such child, the government entity cannot take them. So when we put that inside of a notice or affidavit, for the first time, the legislature realizes we never gave anybody authority to take people's kids, and they tricked us into signing this. We know that legislatures a lot of time will take what the attorneys give them, sign off on it, and say that we need this because some great purpose, right? So I personally, Josh can tell you, teach the legislative body members in many states now. And I teach them and show them where there's laws that they got to put on the books that nobody ever told them that their own state constitution that they swore to, which is higher, says they can't. So what ends up happening is it becomes an immediate separation of power situation where the legislature realizes, holy crap, my attorney didn't tell me that. And then they look at the court and say, hold on. Like I had an argument, a discussion with Chief Justice Scott Bales in Arizona. Is live on Facebook. Everybody can see it. It took me 2 minutes, and then he told on the legislature. He said, it's not us. It's not the judges. It's legislative policy that is being used to move these courts. He knew exactly what I was the corner I was putting him in. So when you give an affidavit, remember that when the bar member does something wrong, people say, make a bar complaint. When the judge does something wrong, they say, make a judicial complaint to some judicial committee. Now, you were a prosecutor. You know that every single day you prosecuted people when somebody put a sworn affidavit together telling what happened and there was probable cause. Every single day you would nail somebody with that. So if you prosecuted people with affidavits, right? Somebody made a sworn testimony saying this guy hit me.
No, that's incorrect, Dave.
So you didn't use affidavits when if you're a prosecutor and warrants go out, there's no affidavit. It doesn't say in the Constitution that
you have to think in terms of phases. Mm-hmm. Reasonable suspicion allows you to affirm or dispel whether a crime's been committed. Mm-hmm. Probable cause is what you're going to use in most cases with an affidavit.
Yes, sir.
To secure an arrest. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's arrest in the legal sense where you're seized, but you're not confined and put away. At court, when we're prosecuting people, though, there is no affidavit being put up there.
Wait.
It's live testimony.
Hold on now. So wait. So you're telling me if a man beats up his wife and the cop takes down a sworn statement, that's not used in court?
It can be used for impeachment, but if you have to be able to confront your accuser.
I know. I understand that part. I'm saying, do you guys not use that? Because when you're going to make an arrest to get somebody into the court to have a discussion or a fight or investigate or hear testimony, you first have to have something to get jurisdiction to get them in the court. So what are you using?
So let me repeat. There are phases. We don't just have an affidavit and then throw the book at them. So it's one.
I notice I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say
what I'm saying in court. That's not in court. That's before a judge or district attorney that makes an evaluation. And if there's trustworthiness to the affidavit, you can go to the next step. That's when you get to a courtroom. But you'll never have a jury that you're saying, hey, here's the affidavit, unless you're impeaching a live witness. You don't try cases through affidavits.
You're 100% right. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, how does the government get jurisdiction over a man or a woman? Can you go arrest anybody you want to, or do you have to have some evidence or sworn testimony saying that they did wrong? I understand the phases. How do you see? CPS says, I believe somebody might have done something wrong, and y'all write an executive branch document saying take their kid, and there's no warrant. That happens a lot. I'm asking you, how does the court get jurisdiction over a man if nobody says they did wrong? Will that ever happen? Will they have actual jurisdiction? I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's different moving parts. Now, you have to understand that when you talk about state constitutions, I say I agree with that. But you have to understand that there's also interplay with the federal constitution, because we're a federalist society. There are certain enumerated powers under Article 1, Section 8 that determines what the federal government can do. And then under the 10th Amendment, we establish what the states can do.
That's right.
Now, you've got this administrative apparatus, which is what you're bringing up. I agree with you that it's unconstitutional. It would have been foreign to the founders because it provides all three powers that would normally exist in the different branches of government into one entity that's unaccountable. So you've got rulemaking, you've got rule adjudication, you've got rule enforcement. So I get that. And so when I teach my students is, where's the accountability? When you take my administrative law class, you don't come out of it admiring it. You come out of it and say, what the hell has happened? So you got to get back to the basics though. When you talk about the court systems, are there administrative qualities to it? Absolutely. Are there administrative qualities to the district attorney's office? Absolutely. But in most state constitutions, the jurisdiction for what the power that the courts have, you start there. All right.
Amen. Amen.
So there is an evolution or dilution of strict construction of what the powers are. And I would agree with you that they have become bastardized in the sense that everything has become administrative. And when that happens, you don't have the oversight and accountability. So,
wait, can you explain that oversight and accountability from who?
Well, you don't elect the director of agency XYZ. You elect a politician who, through an enabling statute, creates the regulatory body.
There you go.
So in other words, you've got, if you got like a dirty river, and guess what? The politician wants a photo op. He says, let's get the Clean River Act out there. And that's a statute. Well, the senator is not going to go out there and test the river to see if it's dirty. He's going to get someone else to do it. So what do? Is they enable and create an administrative agency to regulate that so-called problem. Usually they're doing it in a way that's not even constitutional because it's not within the federal power. So you'll create the agency known as the EPA. At that point, the EPA creates all of its rules. The rules aren't statutes. The rules aren't created by the legislature. So when I say the lack of accountability, if you get inundated with citation, you don't get to vote the director of XYZ out. You don't get to have any justice. And so and not only that, you have to appear before an administrative tribunal. Well, all these people are on the same payroll. So there's no separation of powers. If you got a ticket from one agency and another agency, in theory, let's say that you got 8 different citations from 8 different administrative agencies. Are you allowed to consolidate all those into one case? No, you're not. You have to fight in 8 different sham administrative tribunals. So, I know this stuff and I know it inside and out. So the problem is that every one of us that are in public service or have been in public service, we're part of a tainted system.
That's right.
Okay. So the fight isn't just we, the people from the outside. you need to understand, I'm fighting this fight on the inside, and I'm, I've done this in a way where I'm trying to discern what the just thing is to do. So when I gave the example of the Edward Snowden revelation, I could have played the game. I could have hit the ball. I could have gotten my convictions. I could have got a newspaper front page thing. What did I do? I called the task force into my office and asked them point blank whether this was happening. And they lied to my face. Now, the just thing to do, because I serve justice, was to dismiss those cases. Now, foundationally, a lot of stuff that you're talking, it has nothing to do with it. But guess what? My job, I didn't create the system over the past 200 years. I got dropped into this giant shit sandwich, and I'm trying to make whatever I can right, because you want patriots inside, outside. You want law enforcement inside, outside, to change and shape and shift the conversation.
Yes, sir.
So when I ask you for what the mechanism of forces to change,
yes, sir. Yes,
it
sir.
sounds like your mechanism is education.
Well, it's more than just that. So here's what I'm doing. So, and it's very similar to what you do. So I'll explain exactly how it works. So you said there's no accountability and there's no separation of powers. One of the biggest problems is that the attorneys have been teaching the legislature. And then you even admit it's a crap system. They're lying. They're doing things. There's no accountability, right? Criminals like to do things in the dark. God tells us to expose or rebuke and expose it on the mountaintops, right? The Bible tells us that when the people is one, nothing that they imagine to do will be restrained from them. So I realize the legislature doesn't know the law because they believe they got to listen to attorneys who are using an administrative system, as you say, without actual judges, without real common law due process, right? The things in the bills and declarations of rights, they're not using it because it's a legislative tribunal where the rules of court come from Article 1, Section 8 into your state statutes. So this is what I do. I take an affidavit and I put the laws that I know the bar attorneys never told the government officials. And then I tell the government official, hey, here is your laws. Here is your trust indenture that tells you how you are to work. It tells you you can't work with those other guys, but you're making a private tribunal to work outside of the Constitution. But there's a problem. You are always amenable to the people and the public. So if you have a public duty you swore to, you're bound in your private affairs. If it attacks the people, you bound yourself to protect. So when they see the affidavit, it's going to tell them their duties. I'm going to challenge them and say, if you think that you have duties that allow you to grant authority to another adversarial party to attack the people that you swore to protect their rights, I need you to show it to me. And if you can't, you agree that what I'm saying is true. Then I put in the affidavit that the court is blocked from making a decision, but that we are going to determine the things here. Any acquiescence by them not responding, we already have a contract together. I'm one of we the people. They are the government official. We have a contract. So I tell them, if you don't respond, you agree that what I'm saying is true and no court of record is going to rehear this matter, but that they're going to accept this contract and this affidavit as truth and law. Now, once I do that, the legislature—
Dave, what contract are you referring to? What's the contract?
The trust indenture called the Constitution is a contract where the government officials took money and paid from the people in order to carry out certain duties. The duties are in the Constitution. That's what a trust indenture is. The rights of the beneficiaries is in the Declaration of Bills of Rights. The Constitution or the framework—
No, I understand that, but I also teach contract law. And so when we talk about contracts, I want to be very, very precise.
Yes, sir.
You have to have a valid offer. You've got to have consideration. You've got to have a valid acceptance, capacity,
memorandum of understanding,
a meeting of the minds.
That's right.
So we're talking about something that happened in 1935, which is very different than what I'm asking about right now. When I talk about a mechanism for force, and you talk about these arguments, what tribunal will oversee and make a judgment about your argument?
Okay.
Are we a law unto ourselves? That's what I want to.
Well, actually, let me ask you a simple question to answer it. Are the people free and independent, and is the legislature allowed to make statutes against the right of the people?
Dave, it doesn't.
No, because you said
it's not how it works.
No,
I asked you if you're gonna.
You said the government entities work by wrong and fraud. You admitted that yourself. So it's not about how it works. It's about what is truth and what is in the document.
That's not what I said, Dave. That's not what I said. And I'm actually you're broadening with a very, very broad paintbrush, And I'm actually giving you nuanced reasons on how I'm working within that system. So it's not everyone, because I'm giving you examples of myself fighting that system.
I do. I haven't talked
so let's
about
add that nuance. But I also know many attorneys that feel the same way that I do. And so I'm just saying, look, let's not paint with this broad brush that if you're a bar member that somehow
I'm not painting you. I'm not painting you, but
I'm a bar member.
Yeah, you're part of a private association, right? So is the bar government? Yes or no? Because when you wield a big stick of power around because you're a bar member, right? You're part of a group. You need to tell the people and give them full disclosure. Are you government or not? Are you not a private organization? Right? Because it needs to be full disclosure of what you are.
I've got two simple questions, Dave, and I'm going to keep coming back to them.
Please.
I want to know what the mechanism of force is, and I want to know who decides. And it's not a question that you're going to give back to me. I want an answer.
No, I'm going to give you the answer right now. Missouri Constitution said it is the people's right to regulate their internal government. Yes or no?
Okay, no, they're telling me what the law is.
Yes, what the law is how you get a determination. But you have to start with the law first.
Who decides, Dave? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, who decides? The people have the right to regulate their government. If the people are guaranteed the right to regulate, and you swore that we can, who decides?
Okay, so if you say we the people, what does that look like? Let's get specific.
We the people looks like the people finding out the law that they never knew before, taking it to the legislature who never knew before, letting them see that the bar members have let them write legislation that is against the fundamental principles of the law. So once they know, the Bible says the Bible says the truth shall make you free. Why they don't want to teach in school the truth? They don't teach the state constitution in school. In law school, they don't teach a lot of the state constitution, but it is the trust indenture by which the state workers are working. So if nobody has knowledge.
Who's the representative of the people?
The representative of the people is every person who's in government.
Okay, so I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Please do.
I'm going to call bullshit.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Okay, so people are familiar with district courts, all right? And whether we like or want to quibble about what their authority is, there are rules for procedure to get into that courtroom because in order to have a fair and impartial proceeding, not everyone can knock on the judge's door, bar entry, and say, hey, David punched me in the face. I want justice now. That's a we the people thing. So what I'm saying is if we're going to drill down and encourage and put meat on the bones, and trust me, I want to put meat on the bones on any we the people argument. And I say, what does this look like? It can't be philosophical, Dave.
Oh no, I do it in real life every day. So I have real life businesses open across the country, over 100, that are private associations that the government don't mess with us. That the government don't mess with us. They don't come. They understand they don't have any jurisdiction over us. That's real life. 88 kids returned from CPS. Tons of people have saw it. Real life, real tribunals, real affidavits.
But you're talking about CPS, and again, I don't know your background. I've just read some stuff. I'm trying to be focused on the election integrity. That's been my battle.
I was focused on that too, and I can tell you, I did affidavits along with Josh directly to the legislature, directly to the board of supervisors. Now, people can say it might be happenstance, but the only board of supervisors that actually responded and said he wants an audit was the one we put on notice. The one we gave affidavits showing him that there was wrong done that was declared by the people in their own words. So when he got that, he realized, oh shucks, there has been some stuff that people are telling that happened. So he did a meeting with Josh Barnett. He did a meeting with Giuliani after Josh put him on notice. The legislature of Arizona, they were sine die. They weren't even in session. And I went on Twitter with Josh and I said, the legislature has 12 hours to get back to work and decide if they're going to hear about this election F word. 12 hours later, they were in Arizona. 5 or 6 of them came. Josh Barnett can be a witness to this. We gave them affidavits, served them at their house. And then they decided to come out because they had affidavits that showed the wrong to the people and affidavits of maladministration and treason saying, if you don't carry out your duties, you are pretty much fighting against your trust indenture with the people. And I explained it with the state constitution. They decided to come and listen. Now, they dropped the ball with the meeting. I said, Josh, we're going to hit him with another affidavit and do it live on Twitter. We gave him another affidavit. And let them know we're not happy with y'all coming out with 6 people. We're going to need y'all to fix this meeting. They were saying they weren't going to do the meeting. We're going to need y'all to fix this meeting and go ahead and get out here and finish this off. So then we gave them another affidavit, right? And then the next day, about 28, 29 of them came out. And then we gave them a notice letting them know exactly what we wanted them to audit. We said, you're going to audit the ballots, the machines. You're going to audit everything that's said in their statement. And then you'll see Ujenta Rita come out with the exact same words, word for word, of what they're going to do. And then they had some issues with Jovan Pulitzer. They're on video all over the place saying, "Hey, we don't like his attitude. You know, I don't like this guy. I don't want this." Right? Josh Barnett and I sent them a notice and said, "This government belongs to the people. Article 2, Section 2. Your job is to protect our individual rights and maintain our rights." Article 7, Section 7 of the Arizona Constitution says that every legal vote shall count. So after you have an election, every legal vote has to be counted to make sure every vote has to be looked at to make sure that you remove all illegal votes. And the person with the most legal votes shall be declared elected. So we put that in there, and then we let them know, you don't work for yourself. The government is not built on your own decisions. We are not looking for you to make a decision about Jovan and Colonel Waldron.
Hey, Dave, if they responded to the affidavit, more power to you. Let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
What would happen if they ignored it?
Oh, very easy. So if you look at arbitration, I put an arbitration clause in there. If you look at arbitration and you are teaching the people at the same time, and that's what I believe in doing, and that's why we got so many kids back. If you use the law, 1925 Federal Arbitration Act allows you to make a contract with change terms in a contract, have an arbitration clause, have a amount in commerce. And if you have those things, you can look at the 1925 Federal Arbitration Act. It allows for you, using that existing contract you have in the change in terms, to bring your issue before arbitrator if you put the clause in there that you have the right to take it before an arbitrator of your choice.
Okay, granted. Now, and what happens if they ignore arbitration?
That's great, because here's what happens. The problem that we have is that people have been teaching the same thing to the people, and the people haven't had an opportunity to learn the truth. Therefore, there has been no accountability because the people who are to regulate the government don't know, and that's why they don't teach us. Any criminal who wants to break the law will try to hide what they're doing wrong. The moment you get exposure, it separates the issue of the separation of powers. They start fighting each other. So,
okay. So time. I'm asking a pretty direct question. When I talk about mechanism of force, what I'm talking about is by what means are you going to accomplish getting someone that's not doing what we, the people, say by the scruff of the neck and making them answer for it? You shouldn't send them a subpoena. If the positivists, not the natural law theorists, say, I don't agree with this, I think this is a violation of whatever, and everyone quibbles over it, and they ignore your subpoena, you're bringing in arbitration. What happens if they ignore arbitration? I'm going to keep asking the question.
Yeah, it's great. Keep asking. Here's what happens.
What's the scruff of the neck approach?
The only reason evil exists is because the judgment is not given quickly. That's Bible. So God says the people coming together will cause things to change, period. So the government workers are a small group of persons who have taken power at times and done what they want to do. And the reason they're in power is because nobody knows. So the people, when I make them know and we go after them and they see the numbers grow, they start to realize the people are the force. That's what government officials aren't realizing. For right now, you might have a gun. Okay. You might have some people who protect you. But when the people know the truth in history, Declaration of Independence, your forefathers shut England down, the #1 military power in the earth, by the people, not by some.
Okay, so that's all I needed to hear, Dave, and I'm all for it. But what you're saying is effectively a nullification argument of
no, it's not a nullification.
No, it absolutely is. Because
no, it's not.
Yes, it is. Let me respond. Nullification is perfectly legal if it's consistent with the Constitution. You'd agree with me, right? You would agree with that, right?
You got to be specific. You got to be specific. Are you talking about jury nullification? What are you talking about? Let the people know what you're talking about so we understand.
I will. I'm accepting your premise as state constitution, this, XYZ. Follow all that. And so we're saying from a supremacy standpoint, this is the supreme law, not all the administrative mumbo jumbo that's happened since. Are we in agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when I talk about nullification and what you're talking about sounds like disregard all of the administrative mumbo jumbo because the prime authority resides here in the state constitution. Are we in agreement on that?
Wait. So when you say nullification, you still got to explain what you mean by the word, because the people in the audience ain't gonna know what you mean. I don't know exactly what you're saying, so I'm trying to understand what you mean, so we can narrow it down like you're trying to do.
Okay, I'll give you the bumper. Here's the bumper sticker definition. All right, so we understand that the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. Okay, so everything that's contrary to it, and that's where we're getting into the weeds on what exactly is contrary to it. Madison and Jefferson would say that you are duty bound to nullify, reject, ignore. And at the state level, which is what you're talking about, it's the same concept. That's what I'm talking about broadly with nullification. Are we in agreement?
Well, at the state level, I don't look at it as in nullification. I look at it as in trust indenture. What authorities were granted, and that's it. See,
it's not a separation, because what I'm saying is I don't reject your premise, Dave. So you need to don't fight me on something where we're agreeing.
I'm not fighting you on it. I want you to understand.
The trust indenture would be, in your mind, consistent with the powers granted under the state constitution.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if it's consistent, we're not talking about nullification. What we're talking about is the aftermath of the trust indenture, of how everyone is not keeping the faith with that contract that you're referring to.
Well, see, there's an issue. So what I want you to see, because this will make the difference. If you have a trust indenture and you only grant what's in it, all the power that you're seeing that people are wielding, and you're saying is like this in the real world, where did they get the power? Because we need to understand who's standing in the wrong right now. The people who are using power that's not in the trust indenture, or the people who say they don't like it.
Yes,
who's
and the
right
people
and who's wrong?
I agree with you. So that, to me, if we're using historical terminology, that's nullification 101. And it's justice. It's righteous. It's a righteous form of nullification, because right now our biggest frustration is that the legal system is not receptive to we the people. Our legislature has not been receptive to we the people. And so that I think everything that I said under on the live stream is consistent with that. So the question is, when I talk about the scruff of the neck mechanism of enforcement, I agree with what you're saying. It is a we the people thing. And I've been saying that since day one, but none of us want bloodshed. None of us want violence. None of us want that 3%er approach from the founding. So it's education, true shining until you've got no other choice. But that's all I wanted to hear from you is that the end game? Because it sounds like it is, unless I'm mishearing.
There's another one. I didn't finish. So, and it has to come in stages so that it works. So here's what we're going to do. We have thousands of people already, and tons of people who follow the people that we're dealing with that are going to put in initiatives. So starting off, we are already building a case against the government officials by giving them notice, giving them affidavits, letting them see where they're wrong. And we're putting in initiatives to say, in Arizona, we will have access as the people, because we can create the highest law. Nobody can make anything higher than us. We will, as a people, be able to prosecute government actors outside of grand juries or juries controlled by the courts. So we'll remove their power by the Constitution, just like our forefathers did, to control everything with the court, because that's one of the problems. So now the real law will be, if you're a government official and you're working in administrative entities against the people's rights, like you're already forbidden to do, and we both agree that it's wrong, we'll prosecute you outside of courts. Here's another one. The next initiative is going to be that any man or woman who has had an issue with an administrative entity, that the man or woman will be able to bring the actors or the parties in those cases into a court of record, which is totally different than these administrative things. And they will be able to use those juries or grand jury in order to be able to deal with the matters. So they'll be able to get retribution, because we have a law that says, just like our forefathers did, these courts must be courts of record, like Arizona Constitution says that people aren't paying attention to. We also will have
courts are you saying aren't courts of record?
Well, let me ask you this first, because this always happens when I say the word court of record. What would you say a court of record is?
Well, I asked the question, Dave. So just tell me what you think.
Okay, I'll tell you real quick. A court of record is an administrative tribunal. Is not a court of record. A court of record. I'll say this real quick, and then.
So would you say that the case that is presently before Judge Martin is administrative or otherwise? Because
you talk about in Michigan.
Not the one that's before in Maricopa. What's his name?
There is no case left. They're all gone.
No. The case that the audit is under a case name.
No, it's gone. It's done with.
You're talking about the last.
It's kicked out, right? Isn't it kicked out or something?
No. So the case that was litigated over the subpoenas themselves.
Oh yeah, where the judge said
that's got a case number, and so if there's non-compliance with the audit itself, you have to go to that judge, right? Is that judge? Are you considering his courtroom administrative or otherwise?
It's very easy to see what is put into the court decides the jurisdiction. So if they put statutes in the court is following.
It's not an administrative court.
No. If they put statutes, okay, so let's just make it simple. When you look at, if you open up a court case by a statute, is that by the common law or is it by the statutory procedure? It's only two choices.
No, there's more choices than that. There's more choices than that.
So, okay, I'll give you a simple word and I'll make it super easy. The word adoption. The adoption is completely statutory and does not historically exist in the common law at all. So is that a statutory procedure or is that a common law procedure?
Common law is nothing more than your body of case law over time. That's what common law.
Are you sure that's what it is? That's not what common law is. And Dave, I'll prove it to you. Sir,
Dave, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Go ahead.
And over time, your judges are tasked with interpreting statutes, and your case law will often have to interface with it. So you don't just deal with common law. You don't just deal with statutory law.
You said the word statute. You said the word statute, right? You just said statutory stuff, right? So,
Dave, if you want me to explain it, let me explain it. But
let me ask you the question so you know what I'm saying. Because if a statute is created by the legislature, does that have anything to do with common law?
It does, because it will absolutely have that, because you'll have judges that have to interpret the statutes. And then you have a body of case law over time called the common law. You don't hold them separate. They are intertwined. That's what I'm saying.
I think you might be making a small error. I think you might be.
I would say I'm not.
I'm sure you would say that, but the truth is in what the word common law means. Common law does not mean, the legislature cannot write common law.
I never said that. The legislature writes statutes. Judges interpret those statutes when disputes arise before them. That's the common law.
No, that's wrong. So let me explain to you why. If the legislature,
based on what experience, Dave, are you saying that I'm wrong?
I don't use experience. I use the actual law.
Okay, yeah.
Can we read it?
Can we read it?
Can we read it?
Have you ever?
See, this will show what the problem is, because you're telling what your experience is, and you have experience as something, and I don't have that same experience as you, but I can read the facts, and everybody can understand what's written. So if I say something that's a lie, you guys should tear me apart if I read something that's a freaking lie.
Well, I'm challenging your understanding of statutory law.
And I'm challenging you with a word in the actual law book. And I want you to tell me if the word is lying or if you might have it wrong.
I'm not wrong. I understand it quite clearly.
You spoke of something called the common law that comes from a statutory decision from a judge. That doesn't even make sense.
That's not what I said.
A decision.
Okay. If you'll let me explain, I'll explain it to you, Dave. Mm-hmm. You've got different operators in different branches of government. They do very different things.
That's right.
The legislature creates statutes.
That's right.
They're lawmakers. They're not law interpreters. Mm-hmm. Judges are law interpreters. So when there is a dispute over a statute and litigants appear before the court, they will make a decision. That decision will be put into a public record.
That's right.
That body of law becomes the common law.
Okay.
There's an interplay between the statutory construction of the legislature and the case decisions interpreting that, which allow for precedence, which is what we as attorneys look at. And then there's the concept of stare decisis. I know what I'm talking about, Dave.
That is exactly what I'm going to say is wrong and the problem. See, attorneys are taught something through a certain lens. And I'm saying I don't look through that lens. I know,
but I can't appeal to the gospel of Dave Jose when I go into a courtroom.
And that's why
I don't get to do that.
That's why I said I'm going to use the book, because David Jose is nothing. So
What book are you referring to?
Black's Law 5th edition. It's all ripped up and ugly.
That's a dictionary, Dave.
Yes.
Not
y'all okay. Let's not act like y'all don't use law words when you speak law things. So let's not do that. Let's not fake like, oh, it's just a dumb dictionary now when you use it.
No.
It's in your fundamental courses. So let's not act like you don't use that.
No,
right?
we use it, but that's not how the law
so
works.
You use it. So it's not just some useless piece of thing I'm picking up, right? Like you use it, right?
David, I mean, I'm on here and I've listened to the arguments. I'm asking you questions that any judge.
Okay, can I read it? Can I just read it? Can I just read it so we know what it says? It's that simple. It's like the Bible. I don't need to argue with you about the Bible. It ain't about what David says or you says. Let's freaking just read the text. And if it says,
answer this question to me though. Why is the dictionary any superior authority than a statute that's written? Because that's not a statute.
If it's not a superior authority, then why y'all using it in school? Are you wasting people's dollars?
Again, you're creating.
You use it for a reason, right? Everybody use books in school. If you use the book and it's part of your tools, then let's be real and say we use it and use it. If you don't use it and it's trash, just call it trash. If a statute is the best thing, say statute is the best thing, but we know the Constitution's higher. So we got to use standards in real life. We can't use theories. We have to use standards.
David, I'm being very precise. I'm being very
precise. Can I just read what's written?
And that dictionary is not a binding authority on anyone.
Seems like you don't like the definition that I'm getting ready to give you because you don't want me to read it. You're stopping me from reading it by saying, David, that dictionary is nothing. But the dictionary is something in the college.
Guys, David, go ahead and read it.
Okay, let me read it real quick.
Read it.
Common law, as distinguished from law created by the enactment of legislatures.
Which I said.
Common law is not created by legislature. They create statute, like you said. So if they create statute and the judge is making a determination based on the statute, how in the world can he make a common law decision when common law wasn't put in?
I've explained that, Dave.
No.
And nothing that I said is inconsistent with that dictionary.
You just said after the statutory decision, the judge creates something called common law. I just read to you that common law has nothing to do with anything statutory. So if nothing statutory, okay, here it is right here.
Let me
distinguished from law created by the enactment of legislatures is something different.
Dave, guess what? The reason why I'm not scared of you reading the definition is I own that book. I own several editions of it. I understand what it is. I teach it in a class every day.
All right. So it has a use, right?
And it has a use, but it's not binding authority. So when we talk about statute,
let's make this easy. If you keep saying that, you keep saying it's not binding authority, but you're using it. So you're selling it to people, you're teaching it, but you're saying it's not binding authority. Why are we using things not binding authority?
Dave,
Constitution
there's no need to make this personal.
It's not personal. I didn't say anything bad about you. I love you.
You're saying you, and you're basically making me answer for all of your qualms with the legal profession.
I'm not making you answer anything, but what is the law? What is written? What is important? I'm asking you because you came on here and
you're giving me a definition this big to explain the body of law that's been in our country for hundreds of years that was based on a body of law that's been around for thousands of years. And what
it comes from the Bible. You're right. It comes from the Bible. We should be able to see it. We should be able to see something. See, you said we'll nail down and try to find solutions with force, stuff that works. So why can't we just say what is in here written is written? What is the highest authority is the highest authority. We could say the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. After that is the state constitution. This is an authority. It has weight. The only way that we get messed up is when we start taking away from the power of what the trust indentures say. If we take away from the importance of words mean something. So if you have a book that you sell or you teach with, you have to use that as the standard. We have to find a standard or it can always be lawlessness. Well, we have to agree.
What I'm saying is the standard, if we're talking about we the people, the closest representative body of we the people is the legislature. So when they write the statutes, that's what's directly closest to us because we can control them. If they write bad laws, we can vote them out. All right. When I talk about the common law, you have to understand that it works in concert. It's not opposed to it. It can be hijacked, just like the legislature can be hijacked. So when I talk about these things, the heart issue is that you have imperfect, fallen people that innervate and populate the legislature, the judges. But from a strict constructionist viewpoint, what I'm saying is that when you have a dispute over the statutory effect on we the people, you rarely will have a litigation before the legislature. You can lobby them, you can ask them to change, but because their terms are staggered 2, 4, or 6 years, depending on what your constitution is, no one wants to wait that long for relief. So what do? They file their dispute in a court of law. Now, the judge does not write statutes. They make decisions and they're trying to interpret in accordance with the statute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that common law, that body of case law, either exists prior to the creation of certain statutes. Sometimes it's after. Sometimes the case law has to change because there's a new statute that's written by the legislature, and they now have to interpret it in light of that because the legislature is going to be king in all of this. So all I'm saying, Dave,
wait. I really want to deal with that. You said the legislature is going to be king in all of this. King in what way? So I understand.
In a certain way, because if you just reduce it to its most simplest explanation,
mm-hmm.
the legislature writes the laws,
mm-hmm.
right?
Well, you need to define law too, so I understand what you're saying. Let's break it down. Please explain that.
I would do a lot better if you just stop interrupting me. And
I'm trying to understand so everybody else can hear. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But they're not going to understand if we're going to interrupt each other every 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they're the primary drafters of the law. That's their primary duty. It doesn't mean that they don't have other duties. Mm-hmm. The judiciary's primary function is to interpret the law.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a secondary component to that, in that they have to write decisions that interpret them. And those decisions have also weight, because their chief function is not only to interpret them, but to be the chief authority on the constitutionality of certain things. All right. So there is an interplay. There's a separation of powers, and there's got to be some synergy there. That's all I'm saying, Dave.
Okay. Now let me help you see another way from where I'm seeing from. You said the legislature is the king in this. I didn't interrupt you, so please let me say it. Please let me say it. You said the legislature is the king, but in our setup of government in a republic, there is no king but the people. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. So
Dave, I've got another interview that I've got to get on.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm just saying that I think you're misstating, and people can leave that to their own decision.
Well, it's on video. It's recorded for all time. So, yeah. I mean, when I say that you said the legislature is king in this, they're king over statutory text.
From a primary function of what they do. They write the law.
Not over.
I agree with that.
There's more than one law. When you say the law, there's a statutory text that is bylaws, and there is a common law, which is written by the people, the highest law. For instance, in Texas, in section 27 or 28 of their Bills of Rights, it clearly says that the government it shall be accepted from the government power to write anything against this Bill of Rights. So nobody in the government has the power to be the king over the Bill of Rights or Declaration of Rights. That is guaranteed.
And the enforcement mechanism is nullification in the event that they do. And I agree with that.
So the law of the people is higher than the law of the legislature. So they're not the king, they're the servant, and they can make law over handling our business, but they don't make law over us. And so I
don't disagree with that, Dave.
And so when the judges make a decision, you said that it is the judge's job to interpret the Constitution. They're the highest authority over this. Now, here's the problem. The judge is not the highest authority over this because the people wrote the common law. If the
agree. No, Dave, once again,
you're not letting me speak, though. You're not letting me
the nuance. The idea, though, is pre-Marbury versus Madison. I'd agree that each branch actually has a duty to be the chief interpreter of the Constitution and protect their specific branch. So when I say that, I'm talking from a legal perspective that under Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court carved out that for themselves. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's important that when we have this conversation, it's not just your interpretation or sense or perspective of what's going on, or mine, but this whether you like it or not, or I like it or not. I'm not a positivist. I'm an originalist. So when I look at these decisions, the Supreme Court, whether we like it or not, has carved out that niche for themselves. That's all I'm saying.
Well, can I speak about something? Because you brought up Supreme Court and you went all the way back to Marbury Madison. I want to go a little bit further than that to one case that
you got 2 minutes because I've got an interview.
Okay, the case is Georgia versus Chisholm, and in Georgia versus Chisholm, it tells us that that the government officials are not the sovereign. And I don't mean sovereign citizen. It says the people are the sovereign and that the government officials are below them. So I think one issue is that in school, they don't teach Chisholm versus Georgia, they start later on. And the problem is when the court case clearly says that the people are the ones who hold the power and are the sovereign, not the government workers who work for them, I think that withholding that information from the people blocks the people from realizing that it is not the court that has any great power. It is not the legislature that has any great power. And it is not the executive that has any great power. They are all servants and trustees of the people that can be amenable to the people and removed, altered, or abolished at any time. And I think when we understand that as a people, we will have real remedy immediately, because the people are the ones who have all power.
Okay. I like I said, I don't disagree with anything that's we the people. And if it's about taking down unjust laws. Mm-hmm. And towards that end, if the affidavit strategy is going to help us with that, count me as an ally and a partner, Dave. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that this is also an awakening education effort on your part. And at some point, the two questions that have to be answered is, who among we the people gets to decide what's the enforcement mechanism? And it can't just be you and me arguing on a live stream or just sharing it. When the rubber meets the road, what's that going to look like? And we've got to flesh that out. But with that, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Frank in a few minutes, so I got to jump off. Y'all take care.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
Hey, David, I want to touch on that real quick, and I'll
go ahead, sir.
I'll call Professor and
let me mute out. Go ahead.
They talk about, everybody keeps talking about this, and he said it numerous times throughout. And I know Gail and other people have said the same thing. What's the remedy? What is, when a rubber meets the road, what's the remedy? Well, I think Tommy Trillovis is one person that can tell us about a remedy. So what we did with that affidavit, or what you did, I should say, is we set up consequences. And the consequences were financial consequences to the county for messing with him, trying to shut his gym down. Now, what we did is we brought them, like you said, into constitutional arbitration of our choice. Tommy went to constitutional arbitration. They defaulted, and he was awarded $1.2 million from the arbitrators. Now, that being said, a constitutional attorney would then sue for that money, right? That is part of this remedy that we can use on top of when we build this base of we the people that we're building to push initiatives and take back control of the government. So those are two remedies right there. Constitutional arbitration is a way to financially punish them for messing with you. And the other way is, once we build this base of we the people, we can push initiatives and change what we don't like. And I don't see that, to me, that's pretty clear as day as far as what a remedy is, or a couple different remedies that we can do. One of them will take a little bit longer to build this underlying base of we the people, right? To educate the masses and let them know what can be done. And like I said last night, how many conservatives do we have here in Arizona? Millions, right? We got millions of conservatives. When these millions of conservatives learn what we're saying and what you're saying and teaching, how many people are going to be wanting to jump on the initiative? To get 300,000 signatures, it's never easy, but it's a lot easier when you got 3 million people that understand what's happening. So that's maybe a slightly longer strategy of developing this remedy, but the constitutional arbitration is not a very long strategy. It actually happened. It's happened twice, and then that John Franco has been awarded $455,000 in California for the same thing. So there are a couple different remedies. So I'm always kind of confused why people say there's a remedy when there is remedy, and one takes a little longer than another. But I don't know. Am I off base here with coming from that point of view?
No, I think you're good. See, this is the thing that is the big trick, and it happens with a lot of the attorneys that I talk to. I like to use real facts, right? Because at one time you'll see where he says, look, let's not talk about broad general statements. Let's talk about specific facts, right? Specific things, not theories. So then I go to the specific book and I say, okay, y'all use this book. One of y'all wrote this book, right? You teach it in schools. This is what the people have to understand. The people have to understand that government officials have the duty, right? They have the duty to handle our business. And what's happened, and he admits it, is that these administrative entities not elected by anybody are doing things. If you're an attorney and you know that a body not elected by anybody is trampling the people's rights, then doesn't it seem like every attorney, if they care about people's rights across the nation, should be attacking that and trying to get them put in prison? If every attorney in America talked to each other and decided that they were going to prosecute bad judges and systems today, what would happen is this whole system would collapse and people would get prosecuted. But when you try to bring up a specific argument, okay, what is common law? Let's read it. And we don't open it up, right? See, one person said David Clements is speaking reality. Here's what I know. God doesn't speak right now. God speaks right now and what he sees things as being. He speaks those things that are not as if they were, because he knows what's coming. Real people who make real action, there's 2 or 3 ways to be in life. You could be reactive and accept what people say. And here's where I feel like the loser battle is. People say, well, you know what, Dave, the real world right now today says in courtrooms and CPS courtrooms, people lose their kids every day. So freaking what? Because real revolutionaries and fighters say there was a time where it wasn't like this. 200 years ago, 150 years ago, 90 years ago. And now you have tricked the people and not taught them. And now it's like this. And you want to act like just because it's like this now, maybe we just need to say this is how it is.
So are you saying because he kept making an argument about case law?
Yeah.
Right? Which most attorneys that I've spoken with say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm hearing you say is case law and this precedent that has been set still does not matter when it's comparing it to the Constitution. And
well, that's what attorneys have been taught.
Because just because something's been done for a long time doesn't mean it
he admits that the system is wrong. This is the whole thing I get with them. You will admit the system is wrong and fight against it some and say it's wrong. But then when I say, well, if it wasn't granted authority that they're using is all completely wrong, why are we dealing with it? And then they say, but in the real world, this is how things are. I don't give a freak about how things are when I'm a revolutionary making things happen differently. If you accept that that's just how it is, it stays the same.
David, do you think in premise, I have a feeling that Professor Clements and premise and pretty much everything that you're saying is like 98% with it. You know what I mean?
Well, notice he said he can't argue with what I'm saying. He kept saying yes, 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 yes.
I definitely feel he's an ally to the movement. You know what I mean? I feel he's an ally to the movement. There's obviously some, you know, like any debate, people kept saying, you guys be nice to each other. Everything else. This is a debate. They're not.
Yeah, it's not about fighting.
It's about each other. This is about ideas. This is different points of view. This is what needs to happen.
Yes, and it's about holding people to what they say. See, he's telling me, David, I want you to show me what force looks like. And let me help y'all understand something. Force, in a way, is a cop-out because it says, if I have the biggest gun, I get to tell you what to do, right? And that worked for the King of England for a little bit. Then they got their behind handed to him. When you look at the king in 1215 and you look at the common law and you look at the Magna Carta and you look at the fact that people went up into the king's quarters, put a sword to his neck and said, we will chop your freaking head off if you don't sign this. And it got signed. See, you can't use in a republic the word force as if it's the say all, end all, be all. Here's why. A government in a republic is about consent. You don't get to force your way on the people. And this is what I think that he's missing. Because he believes that the common law has to do with the responses of a judge based on a statute, and that's a complete lie. The common law is written by the people. The government promised that they will never go against the common law. Now, because
the common law is the Bill of Rights.
Yes, the common law is the bills and declarations of rights, the law that are common to all men. But they want to bypass it and tell us about the statute. Every single statute that they write against the Constitution or the common law shall be null and void. So why are you telling me about the decisions of judges based off of statute when our rights are protected by the common law. The legislature can't write common law. If the legislature can't write common law, how could you put in administrative statutes and have a result called common law? If the legislature can't write common law, you can't have the power to make decisions against common law. How could a statutory decision end up being common law? That's crazy.
That's why I was getting, like I I told everybody there, I was here just to moderate, jump in if needed, you know what I mean? And just sit back and listen. And that's the one question I had for him was exactly that. Why are we talking about statute? Like I told you before, I asked that constitutional attorney about 3 weeks ago, what is the highest law of the land? And he's like, the Constitution. I said, okay, at the state level, what is the highest law of the land? Well, the Arizona State Constitution. That was his answer. I said, so why are we talking about statute? Because I'm talking about stuff that's in the Bills of Rights, Declaration of Rights in Arizona, Article 2, that clearly says that it's mandatory. That clearly says all power is inherent in the people. You know, I can go on and on. You know how it is. You go on and on. Why are we talking about this? Because there is a distinction from what I'm learning between a jurisdictional distinction between the Bill of Rights, the common law, the Arizona State Constitution, and statutory law, or like that he teaches, the statutory law. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
So, and am I the only one that, maybe, listen, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even close. But
hey, wait, let me say this. So Ali, let me say this, Josh. Ali just made a comment about the professor when he said force. He wasn't talking about like how you're going to enforce something with physical force. That he was talking about. Let's see what she said. Something like that. But let me tell you what. So you could go back and listen to it. I have a very good auditory memory and somewhat of a photographic memory. He spoke about force, and the next words that he used was, "Do you get the sheriff to enforce it?" Did he not say that, Josh?
Yeah.
So if he's talking about the sheriff, he's talking about the dude with the gun. She said, I believe Professor Clement was talking about how are you going to enforce your arbitration judgment? That conversation came later. He literally said, how are you going to enforce it? You're going to use the sheriff. Now, let me help you guys understand what he's saying. He says, well, if we want to do something in a court, right? If we want to do something in a court, we have to go and get the sheriff to get him, or we have to get somebody. Who are you going to use to force? And let me help y'all understand something that I don't think he's seeing. Look at this. The courts right now have bar attorneys in them. The police is ran by bar attorneys who are in the legal department. So the sheriff is ran by the bar attorneys who deal with the sheriff and don't teach them our highest rights. So when he says, well, who in the world are we going to use to enforce this? The sheriff? So you're making a statement that because you guys are controlling the sheriff right now, and you admit that you guys are having cases that are done in the wrong, that somehow that just makes this has to be reality? No, that could be what is happening right now. That could be what is happening for some people. But as soon as you know the law and you show them that they're breaking the law, many times what happens is the sheriff start realizing, oh, shucks, I can't enforce that. The legislature starts saying, ooh, we should have never wrote that. That was actually wrong. We need to correct that. Josh, have you not seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Have you seen legislative body members change the way they think about things based on conversations that you witnessed personally?
I've seen legislative body members literally say, I don't want to go to work tomorrow because I know the truth now. Mm-hmm. And they know what they're doing. They understood the difference, like we were talking about, between some of the stuff that they're being told by their attorneys, because this person was not an attorney. And he's putting trust in these attorneys to give him the correct advice. Now, basically, in that situation, in most of the situations we have, our legislature is really just the Bar Association. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. That's a big problem.
That's a deep thing, because when he says that his profession is messed up, right? In so many words.
He sees Professor Clements sees the corruption. But again, if you're saying if you see the corruption and you're part of the corruption, and not him personally, I mean like as far as being a member of the association.
The group, yes.
Yeah. What are you doing about it?
And see, this is the thing for me.
Or what can we do about it? I should say, not him personally, God. I'm not attacking.
It's not him. It's not him personally, y'all.
Guy, but I'm not talking about him. I'm saying if he's part of that association that is causing all these problems, what can he do, or what should he do to help fix and correct that problem?
See, and here's the thing: the power is in the people. I believe that someone like him with reach and power and knowledge, right?
Yeah.
I think that what needs to happen is somebody like him needs to come out and do physical action with the people. He should be coming out and getting hundreds of thousands of people to write notices to the government saying, we have an attorney leading us, telling that we know, right? Telling that we know that they are breaking the law in the bar, and they should be sending that to the legislature and all the government officials with him pushing. Because if he's one of them and he says that they're all messed up, we got to fix it, right? Then, and gets all the people to do it, you're giving the power back to the people, like Trump said. But if you say, well, this is the problem, and just because you don't have the gun right now, the biggest gun, it is what it is. It's reality. No. Things don't stay the same when people decide to stand up and start changing things. This is why your Facebook gets blocked. This is why your Twitter gets blocked. This is why government officials want to shut you down. They shut you down because they know that your words are powerful and they don't want everybody to know, right? Because they're really afraid of the people. See, this is the one thing about Remedy that nobody wants to talk about and why most people lose. When we sent 2,000 affidavits to Trump's trafficking appointee, what happened? They came back out, went to Epic Times and said, we know that CPS is trafficking. We want whistleblowers. Now, everybody could talk about what the world is like and, oh yeah, in my courtroom it's like this with all my friends. The difference is when somebody comes out that's not part of your friendship group, not part of your crew, not part of the association, and they start putting you on notice that you're breaking the law blatantly and you can't control the court because the court is outside of your private entity. They got the copies, they got the evidence, and they're showing everybody. What happens quickly is the people start realizing they're committing a fraud. And when that happens, they start giving back kids. They start letting your businesses be able to see. I'm not talking about something that's theory. He kept using the word theory. I don't live in theory. I'm talking to you about the kids that have come back based on what we have done. I'm talking to you about the businesses that are open across the country in the private now as a private entity. I'm talking about that. So he's in the business world. I am one who went and taught the business how to get remedy. But across the nation, we didn't have very many bar attorneys who help people. Josh, you know bar attorneys. You know most of the gyms around the country. Go ahead.
0 bar attorneys helped anybody. Actually, they would even go so far as to attempt to discredit what we were doing, even though we got 110 gyms open around the country in the middle of a pandemic against the governor emergency orders. Not against it, because we have the right in the private to say we're not following it. So, but we had bar attorneys literally saying this, and we were kind of laughing about it because they never really had an argument about it. They just would say, "Oh, you can't do that."
Well, notice I tell everybody every time I say, "Listen, if you come at me as an attorney, judge, whatever, you will not be able to fight anything I say." Everything I said, pretty much, he said, I agree. I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like
I agree.
You guys agreed on 99, 98, 99.
Yeah. So it's very few things we didn't agree on. So here's the issue. If you keep agreeing that what I'm saying is true, right? But you tell me that is not enforceable. Well, you also said that the government hijacked the people. So if there was a time that they hijacked something, doesn't that mean the previous owner who really deserves it, you stole it from him? So if you stole it from him, that means that it didn't used to be that way.
Exactly.
It was one time where the people had the power and everything was great when the people knew. Did the people in America shoot up the government to get the rights that they had during the time of the American Revolution? Did they shoot up their own people, or did they shoot up Britain?
They shot the redcoats.
They shot the British. So then we had common law, American common law in America, right? And there were no statutes or codes yet. How did people live? They had the constitutions, they had the
They had the Bill of
constitutions
Rights,
of the states.
right? They had the Bill of Rights and they had the 10 Commandments. That's how they lived.
Yeah, so you got to think about this. So understanding that there was a time in America where the government didn't rule for a long time. Now get all the way up to 1938. The people were able to keep their kids. The people were able to keep their cars. The people were able to have control over their families and schooling and all that stuff. So we got to understand this. If the people had these powers all the way up into 1938, and then something happens with a group of people called the bar and the judges and attorney, working together, what happens is when they started working together, they, like the professor said, hijacked the stuff. Now, if we say, well, the hijackers are hijacking, so how you going to stop them? Well, how did you stop them before? You made sure they had notice and understanding. In 1938 and around there, it stopped being taught the truth about the constitutions of the state being the highest law, and the attorneys were taught administrative law. So you get the attorneys to believe a certain thing, and they just keep saying, this is the way things go. This is the way it is in our world. I don't give a freak about your world because we own the world as the people. So your little faction, your little group are doing things inside of courts because y'all decided to hijack it. That's what he said. It's true. Now, how do the people get it back? By seeing the truth so that they can make determinations and put the government officials on notice. Let's prove if that's true or not. In our state constitutions, it says that if you want to keep a free government, you must give due diligence to frequent recurrence to fundamental principles of law. What they're saying is the government will start getting slick and making some crafty creation to lock your anus in and come after the people. So if that's what they have the ability to do, the only thing that is stopping them, based on what our forefathers said, is to teach the people broadly and quickly as possible what we're doing now. And it's spreading across the nation. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think what he's saying is, what you're saying is to maintain this Republican form of government that we have, and it's a Republican form of government because we hate the word democracy. So, is to frequently let these people know what our rights are, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So, if we don't do that, and I've told you before, I failed at doing that. I think we all have. Now we're awake to it. And people, that's what these notices are for this frequent occurrence to the fundamental principles of our republic. Now, with that being said, all the power I see is granted authority, right? So people granted authority, wrote a constitution. That the people granted authority to form a legislature. The people granted authority for the Senate to form the Maricopa Board of Supervisors, for example. All this is granted authority. But who's the top authority? The people is.
That's right.
So that's why I get frustrated when I hear, case law this or case law that, when the granted authority, the ultimate authority is the people and the U.S. Constitution and the state constitution. So I get confused. I don't really get confused. I get frustrated when I keep hearing that because it's not true.
Yeah, and see, but this is the problem, and I wanted him to see. You're saying stuff is like it's true because you were taught it or you said it. Sir, I want to read the actual text. Don't tell me what you think or what I think. I don't give a freak about what either one of us
think. It's not about opinion is what you're saying. This isn't about opinion.
Let's look at the freaking facts. And when I tried to read the word common law, there kept being an issue with him where he kept not letting me show it. He kept talking like, well, that definition doesn't mean anything. Well, why y'all using it and selling it to people? See, this is what happened. When the bar members get trapped, they have to admit that what is on their paperwork binds them in what the freak they say and is not what they say.
So every law school or every law professor uses an edition of the Black's Law Book, correct? Am I wrong?
They use that as fundamental teaching of what the law means.
So that's what they're using in law school. This is the book, one of the books that they're using in law school.
He admitted that they teach out of it. He said, I teach out of an edition of it. So here's what you got to understand. Why, when I bring your own book to you and I say, let's show the people what the freak the book says, is it so much contention? See, this is why the attorneys often get locked into a problem. I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you over nothing. That's my emotion. I'm going to show you what the freak the book says, what the trust indenture says. When I say, hey, let's talk about the Constitution, I don't say, give me an idea about the Constitution or some commentary. I'm like, let's freaking go look at the Constitution and see what the freak it said. So I'm not trying to argue my own ideas or thoughts. All I want to do is say, let's freaking look at the book, because the book is going to tell you that everything you just said is a lie. Now you're going to have to fight what the book said. Now, if you fight what the book said, you have to admit you're talking out of something that ain't the book, right? So we need a standard, right? So let me finish reading to y'all what it says about common law, and you're going to see that it's not judges making law based off of statute. I'm going to prove to y'all that it's actually the opposite of judges making decisions off of statute. Now, in England, remember, they have a king. So when they do their common law, inside of it is the power for the king to tell the people what to do. In America, we're the kings and queens, so they don't get to tell us what to do because we have a Bill of Rights that says you can't. Now watch this. I'm going to prove to you that judges are not making decisions based on the statutes. They're making decisions based on the common law, which is the customs and usages of immemorial antiquity. Watch this. And it comes from the Bible. It's what our Constitution is created from. Watch this. Common law, as distinguished from law created by the enactment of legislators, the law comprises the body of those principles. You remember in the Constitution, I said it says that a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles is essential for a free government. The fundamental principles are in the Bible and in your state constitutions. Because the fundamental principles are in the bills and declarations of rights of your state constitution, if you don't use that, you're not discussing common law. See how easy that is? Watch this. Now, I told him that the government has a duty to protect our rights and property. They have to maintain our individual rights, right? Watch how simple this gets. The common law comprises of those body of principles of rules of action. So there could be common law court cases or rules of action relating to the government, their duties as the government, and security of persons and property. How well are you maintaining and protecting our rights? Where do you find our rights where they can see it easily? In the state or state Bill of Rights or Declaration of Rights. Very simple, right? Watch this. Which derive their authority solely only from usages and customs of immemorial antiquity. Now watch this. What we're going to see now, the immemorial antiquity, the things that the people laid down as the real law and their rights and what is to be protected is the common law. And it has nothing to do with what the freak the legislature is writing. And what the judges are making judgments, determinations on, affirming, saying it is true, is what the freak the people said. And the attorneys keep running away from what the freak the people said and how it is the complete highest law with no other authority over it. Now let's watch.
Hey, David, I want to chime in real quick before you go on.
Go ahead.
Because the professor said it, and a few other people said it too. And you know what? They're right. They're right on this. Mm-hmm. But there's a big but here. A lot of people say the courts don't run it the way you're saying it or I'm saying it. The courts don't run it that way, right? Mm-hmm. And that's true a lot of times. But it's only because we, the people, are allowing it to happen.
There you see. That is
and we're here to rectify the situation. We are done with. I've been telling people, you've heard me. Those days of you doing whatever you want, run a game on everybody, and doing all this stuff are over.
Yep.
Because the education that is being spread about what is happening is how we win. Truly, how we win in the very, not in the long term, but I would say in the very medium short term. You know, I really feel that is true. The courts have been running over us. The courts have been trampling our rights.
Yeah.
The Bar Association has been trampling our rights because we've allowed it to. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important that we educate people. And I bet the professor would agree with me here as well. I'm guessing that it needs to be rectified. Now, it's up to us to do that.
But see, that's huge, Josh. What you're saying is so huge because this is what I'm saying. We get all these people who keep telling us the problem is this. I don't give a freak what the problem is. I only care about solutions.
Exactly.
I don't live in the problem. I live in the power of God making solutions. And that's what you do, Josh. That's different than I've seen everybody else do. Not everybody, but many people. You're like, oh, these guys think they're going to just run us over and steal our nation. I'm going to freaking send them some stuff and do something about it. Right? Isn't that what you did? Now, did you do stuff thinking that nothing would happen, or did you do stuff in faith, spend your money, spend your time to hit them with notices and affidavits? You said, we are not going to deal with this that way, right? Now, it's really strange that a lot of people say they can't talk to the government officials. They don't listen to them. But it's funny. People like Behizzi and them have said, oh, Josh, you got this person's phone number. You talk to the government officials. They communicate with you often. So, Josh, why is it that you as a regular man can have them talk to you, but most people can't? Something is different, right?
Because one, I point out the actual truth. I point out through you, this is what it says, guys. And you kind of develop that trust with them when you show them in the Constitution, not my opinion. You show them in the Constitution what it says and what it means. And they're like, oh man, that lawyer never told me that.
That's what I was going to ask you. When you teach them and you show them in the Constitution what the law says as government officials, do they usually know what you're saying and like already know that, or are they more so like, holy crap, that's in there?
8 out of 10 are like, holy crap. You have that other percentage. There are a lot of attorneys, in our legislature, and they know what I'm talking about, but they're like this. They got the blinders on. They don't want to talk about it.
Okay,
even those attorneys don't know. Honestly, they don't know because they don't really understand the state constitution. They might have read it, but they don't understand it. Because I've read the Constitution many times. I never really understood the Constitution until I met you. And I feel they're the same way. And from my experience with them, it's true. They do feel the same way. When they find out, much like I did, they were kind of upset.
So you got some people that you have strong relationships now in different states that when you show them the Constitution, they act differently.
Oh,
can you say that's true?
Sure. Think about what we did to Candace Taylor. She was so mad when she found out all this. She was so mad because it's not an opinion, people. We're showing you literally line for line what it says. It is the highest law of the land of Georgia, the Georgia State Constitution. You showed her line by line what it said there. You showed her line by line what it said in other states. All the Bill of Rights are interchangeable, by the way, guys. So you know, they're all interchangeable. Doesn't matter what state you're in. So when you showed her this up from Virginia, from Texas, from Kentucky, from Arizona, she was like, holy cow, I can't believe it. She goes, how are we going to get them? She was ready to go, wasn't she? She was ready to go.
Yeah.
Because when you learn this stuff, and like I said, just because it's always been the way it's been or it's progressively become that, doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it should continue. And again, it's up to us, the people. I don't trust no damn plan. I don't trust the plan and all that nonsense you hear. I don't trust any one human being. President Trump is the best president I've ever seen.
Amen.
But President Trump is one man.
That's right.
He can only do so much. I don't sit back and wait for one guy to do the job for me.
Amen.
So what do? We did our part and what we could do and what you know best, what David knows. This is his way of fighting back. This is our way of doing this. Now, are there other ways? There's other ways probably, but this is our way.
Can I ask you a deep question, Josh? Like, have you been on a team that beat like a really good Big Ten team before? Like, have you ever beat Michigan State? University of Michigan or anybody like that?
Ohio State, just saying,
Ohio State. Okay, now that's a really good team, right? Now, has there ever been a time where Ohio State was running through everybody and then came to y'all?
Pretty much every year they're running through everybody.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So Ohio State was some bad mama jammas, right? And that was just the way it was. And they went to every school and kicked the snot out of everybody, right?
Pretty much. It seemed like pretty much between Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. Hey, the Big Ten's loaded. So it depends on the year.
So on one of your teams, they got to y'all, and what happened?
Tell you what, here's a good example of that. 97, we played K-State. K-State was third in the country. They were supposed to play the title game. They were all pissed because they got ranked third. This before they had the playoffs. I'm old. I'm too old for that. And they had to play Purdue. And they're like, we're playing Purdue. This is BS. Why we got to play Purdue? Guess what? We smacked them. So, because we had confidence in ourselves, in our abilities, and what we were doing in our game plan. And I always look at this. This is our game plan to go out and fight. And we use the Constitution. That's my game plan, is the Constitution. It's right here.
So let me ask you this, Josh. So, because I want people to understand this and why your mentality is different. So, have you had people who've come to you, Josh, who were overweight and struggled with their life and their marriage was falling apart? They didn't like life. And they tell you stuff like, this is the way it's always been. I just can't lose weight. I can't do this. I can't do that. You ever had that?
Almost every day. Or they got the thyroid issue. And you know what? Yeah. No, it's because, it's the same thing. They got a thyroid issue because they made it a thyroid issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They weren't born with it. They made it a thyroid issue. So we can take it back, much like we take back our government. Our government is the thyroid issue. And now we have a solution. This is the solution to take the power back to where the people is at the highest authority.
Wait, I need help though understanding this. So from what you're telling me, sometimes people will say that a thyroid issue has enforcement on their life. So the thyroid issue is forcing them not to be able to get out of bed, is making them
they're tired, lethargic, overweight.
Tired, So they're growing outrageously because this thyroid has jurisdiction and enforcement over them. So, Josh, when you get that type of person where their thyroid is having jurisdiction over them, can you explain to me how it is that you stop the thyroid from having jurisdiction over them or enforcement?
The problem is these people granted authority to fast food.
Oh,
they granted authority to pizza, alcohol. So what I'm telling them is they granted authority to chicken breasts, salads, turkey, egg whites, healthy food, right? So it's the same thing in here. We're granted authority different ways, and that's what it comes down to is that the people need to understand that we are the highest authority. Much like we're the highest authority of our body. We control what we put in our mouth and what we eat. Same thing here.
I don't understand a little bit, Josh. Like, so are you telling me, because it seems like if the thyroid has enforcement over your body and got the biggest gun over your life right now, it seems like nothing you do would matter because your thyroid has control over everything.
Your eating habits can change all that. Your working out habits in combination changes all that. So you can increase thyroid function. There's times where you may be permanently hurt it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't reverse it, I should say. You can reverse it and reverse it enough that you're going to start seeing that weight coming off, start feeling better, have a sex drive again, all that good stuff that comes with it, right? So and not only that, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, everything, it translates into your whole life.
So from what you're telling me, so I make sure I get this clear. Are you saying that you, Josh, have a program that is in your mind that you can give to somebody else's mind and it can literally break the stronghold of a thyroid physical problem?
No doubt. I do it all the time. I've been doing it for almost 30 years.
Wow. Okay. So then it really is possible in the real world, not theories.
But it's a choice.
So you do have people though that's done this before?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Pedro, I got one here right now. He's lost 100 pounds.
Oh my God. Right? He looks amazing. So let me ask you this then. So when Pedro, lost 100 pounds, got all big, muscle bound and crazy, right? Did he have good genetics that just made him really ripped up and shredded, or did he have to actually put some information in, learn how to do something, carry out the task, and then the results just changed?
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And like I said, it was his responsibility, his accountability on himself to make these changes, much like us taking responsibility for us, the people, and giving these notices out, giving these affidavits out, teaching the nation what our constitutional rights are. And it's my responsibility to give this notice to the government, let them know what you're doing is wrong. And I want to correct it.
So you believe that the people actually have the power to correct issues?
I 1,000,000% believe they do. They just don't know it.
So they just
don't know.
So you're not just accepting that this is the way it is and they got guns?
I got guns too.
So
all kidding aside, though, no, I truly believe that. But and part of the problem again, it's education, because when the people every time last night, 30 people there, dude, I thought they were going to jump out of their chairs and just start. They were high fiving, going crazy because they were like, holy cow, this is true. He's showing me it's right here. It's not his opinion. This is what our forefathers wrote. This is what the Arizona State Constitution says. And when they learned that, were they not excited? They were like clapping and cheering, literally. So when you learn this stuff, that's how we win our country back. To me, honestly, if Professor Clements went on Tucker Carlson with all those millions of viewers, hey, I love Tucker, by the way, with all those millions of viewers Tucker has, and said, listen, we're going to put this initiative through in Arizona. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what I need my people in Arizona to do. You don't think that would be like, I mean, virtually overnight we would have it done.
Yep. Because you're giving people the information that allows them to make a change. You see, the only way they've been able to run the scam on us is not telling people that the law says it. That's the only reason.
Well, they lie to us. They lie to us. So some lawyers just don't say it at all. They just don't talk about it. And then other lawyers lie. So the omitting this information for the people is why we are where we are. But now that's what I call the Great Awakening. The people are waking up. They're learning that they've been lied to. They're learning that lawyers haven't been wholly telling the truth to them. and now they're figuring it out, that this is what's real and this is actually what's in the Constitution. And then that's how we break this chain with the government and the deep state, all that NWO, whatever you want to call it. This is how we bring it back to what our Republican form of government was actually set up for, and it's for us to be in control and be the highest authority in the country. So
now, High C7 says Dave is very intelligent. You don't need a degree to understand our Constitution, your state constitutional rights. And High C7 is 100% right. Not that I'm intelligent. I'm just using the words of your forefathers. So I'm borrowing stuff, and God gave me some wisdom, but it's His, and the words I'm using are from your forefathers. So understand, our forefathers did not want us to just let people tell us anything. We have to start calling it out too. And I'm happy that the professor started to call me out and go deeper and ask me questions and say, how you going to do that? Show me how you going to do it, right? Because that's the real thing. People who are visionaries have it in their mind of how to get things to work, and they usually win at it because they're persistent. So I want to look at common law real quick.
And he's right to ask that.
I enjoy it.
Right to ask that, because guys, I keep seeing stuff pop up. It's a debate. Things might get a little heated sometimes. It's fine. It's not like
we got to stop being so soft. Stop being freaking.
Stop. Hey, take all that snowflake stuff somewhere else. We don't operate like that.
Stop being so freaking soft. We got to stop this job.
We're not marshmallows here. So the professor isn't either, and that's why I like him, because he's willing to have this conversation.
Yep.
He's willing to try to come at you and be like, hey, why this? What is this? And these conversations are what need to happen. All too often, it's either my way or the highway. Screw you, I ain't talking to you.
Yep.
And that's not how you solve problems.
Yeah.
And I'm very appreciative to him to come on here with you and have this discussion, because I think I could be wrong, but I think we all get frustrated when we're debating something, but I think he hopefully he walked away from that discussion like he appreciated the discussion. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that somebody with his intellect and background would appreciate an open debate, an open discussion, which we need more of. We need more public officials and people like him having these open public discussions for the people to learn from and for us to learn from. You might learn something from him. He might learn something from you that he can use later. Now, he might not admit it, and you might not admit it, right? But that's not even about that. It's about discussion to open up new ideas and to be better off with what you're doing, whatever you decide to do with it.
And to let the people see. See,
yes,
the biggest part in this whole situation is to let the people see. And that's why I do the things I do. That's why I open up their book and say, okay, your book says this. The constitutional trust indenture says this. Can we say I'm wrong? It will never happen, ever. People will say, well, the idea of it, I agree with the spirit of it. I agree it says that, but the idea of it isn't happening right now. I don't want to talk about what's not happening right now because the people control what happens.
Because we're letting that happen.
There you go. See, just because somebody got a gun and they kick your door open and try to rob you doesn't mean that you're bound to be robbed. If you pull out your gun before they can get to you and let some shots off, I guarantee you it's going to be an equal fight then. They may be even losing because you know what your house looks like and they don't know. So I don't believe in this stuff of saying, well, you know what? This is the way it is. Screw all that, dude. That's why stuff stays the same in your world. See, the people who have a world that says, I have power, I have a voice. The Bible says that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So if I believe that I can do all things, I'm right. If through Christ, if you believe you can do nothing, you're right. Both of you are right. What you believe, the Bible says the just shall walk by faith, right? Not by sight. I don't give a freak what it looks like right now. That's not how you change things. When I go work out with y'all, Josh, my arm don't look like your arm. I know in the Constitution, it says you have the right to bear arms, and you got arms the size of a freaking bear. I don't have that yet, right? I might have the right to it, but I ain't there. So the only way for me to get there, right? I can't say, well, I'm bound by bad genetics, or that's just the way it is, or the way my sugar is treating me. I'm just so hurt. No, screw that. I'm going to get in there with the freaking monsters who have the knowledge to get buff, and then I'm going to get buff, period. My body is going to be in subjection, right? So let me read this common law real quick so y'all can see he knew where I was going. You could tell. And he said that definition is not higher than a statute. The statute is a whole bunch of words that have definitions put together. So there could be no statute without words that have definitions. It can't exist. So you have to have definitions of what your words mean.
Otherwise, it wouldn't mean anything.
There you go. See, and this is the thing that happens in the Bible. Like a lot of times people see the Bible and they say, well, that's about your interpretation. Well, the Bible says it's of no private interpretation, and there's what's called context. If we read in context, the idea is forced upon the reasonable mind. And that's why when I say, well, let's read common law. How could you ever tell me that the book that you teach out of don't mean that much? That should be scary because you sell those books as bar attorneys. Those books are sold to every student. So if it's not important, why the freak are you selling it? We got to think about that. The hypocrisy in what people say. If you read out of the book and use it to tell people stuff in school, and it means nothing, that means you are purposely indoctrinating them. Now, if it means something, that means you're truly teaching them. So either you're truly teaching them, or it's a bunch of bull and don't mean that much, and you're indoctrinating people and charging them for it. Which one is it? Right? You got to stand on either one side, right?
Yeah, it's one way or another. You can't be straddling the fence on that.
That's right. Now let's look at this. So I said common law comes from the people. Now I said that the common law deals with the government's duty to protect the people's rights, individual rights. That's what the state constitution tells you, right? Now watch this. The body of those principles and rules of action, it didn't say the action that came out of it, relating to the government and security of persons and property. Securing persons and properties, right, under the common law has requirements that you have to do. But there's certain things in statute that has nothing to do with those requirements, like what time you'll close the park, what time you'll close the courthouse, right? Now let's look at this. Which derive their authority solely from usages and customs of immemorial antiquity. Now, here's where he said the judges are making law based on statutes, and I'm going to prove to you that is not the case. Or from the judgments, that's what the judges are doing, and decrees of the courts recognizing, whoa, are the courts writing law? Or are they recognizing the law that the people said in the customs and usages of immemorial antiquity? Watch this. The decrees of courts recognizing, affirming, and enforcing such usages and customs. Now, it's going to go in deeper and make it more general now, and this is what the attorneys are using, but it's not the real definition. The first definition of common law says it has nothing to do with statutes, and the legislature can't write common law. So let's get this straight. The second part,
the legislature can't write anything against your rights.
That was the point I was trying to make. Yeah. Go ahead, because it's very important.
I just.
So if the legislature writes the law that the court is hearing an action on, it has to be a statutory court process or tribunal. If it is hearing the common law, which deals with the protection of the rights of the people, then it's dealing with the common law. The people declare their rights. So the judge has to either deal with the Constitution or deal with the statute. And if the statute interferes with the Constitution, that's when the judges say it is unconstitutional, right? So we have to use the standard. Now, watch this. It's going to get deep. Now they're going to go on to a more open definition. Semicolon. And in this sense, particularly in the ancient unwritten law of England. Wait, what the heck are they talking about? It's talking about the unwritten law of England, y'all. Did it say the statute? The statute is what's written. It said the unwritten law of England. Kind of deep, isn't it? Deep concept. Because if the judge is arguing unwritten law, how the freak is he arguing written law? Making a decision upon. You see what I'm saying? Watch this. Now that ends the sentence. The common law is, now here's where the attorneys do their little tricks, is all the statutory and case law background of England and the American colonies before the American Revolution. So all this code of federal regulations didn't exist during the time of the American Revolution. What law was there in America right after the American Revolution? Right? The people decided to associate with each other and be free people. So the judge never can really make any law. All that case law term is coming from the judges who make case law. That's a freaking lie. A judge don't make case law. They affirm what the freak the people said. Now he said they interpret the Constitution. No, they don't interpret. They make the decision if the statute as written conforms to the Constitution or is made in pursuance thereof. That's why we need to talk about it. If it's not in the Constitution, you don't have the authority to write it. If it goes against the people power, the people's rights, you don't have the ability to write it. So why are we sitting here acting like something that is written that goes against the people's power or some rule that the legislature might use is messing up a little bit? I'm sorry. We'll get ready to get off in a second. But here's the thing. Why, if the legislature can't write common law, and the judges are really just making determinations based off of the common law that the people put in place, the customs and usages, right? Every man shall be free. Every man should be able to go to court for free if somebody does him wrong. Every man has the right to instruct the legislature. Every man has the right to a jury, right? If you write a statute that says a man doesn't have a right to a jury, you just interfere with his right to a jury. Miranda versus Arizona says this, and it's super simple. Miranda versus Arizona says where rights secured in the Constitution are involved, there should be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. And the professor said, look, we got a lot of rules that we have to follow, and it makes sense for the courts to follow the rules if we're going to be coming there. Now, here's the problem. If they're making a rule that goes against the right of the people, first of all, you got to realize that's breaking the law. It's null and void. It don't even count. So you can't keep saying that these courts that are trampling the rights of the people, we got to deal with it because it's here now and this is what the world looks like. I'm like, no, screw that. You can't tell me to pick A or B. No, mother freaker, I'm picking C. Screw you, right? I'm picking C. I'm going to make some up. I'm picking G. Now what? Don't give me two options and tell me I'm stuck in a box because the people have all political power. So when we understand that, we can deal with it. But one thing that I told you guys that is the truth. I said you're not going to see any government official say that what I'm showing is a lie. One thing that I can say is we both agree. He said, I can't argue with anything you're saying when it comes to a we the people argument. Of course, because we the people have all the power. It would be crazy to argue against that. Now, I do understand that he was caught in the middle of a situation where Gail Golick was saying some things and he didn't know who I was. So I do want to say, guys, let's not hold it against him that let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, he had no idea the underlying beef in that situation. So, you know what I think with Professor Clements, I like him. I like him. I think that I think he's a fighter. I think he wants to fight back. Like he said, he's not only fighting back against the fake news and everybody else, but he's fighting against his own bar member. The other members of the bar. And I looked at his stuff, and I seen him on Tucker. I know who he is. When I saw him on Tucker and I pulled it up, I was like, oh, I know who he is. So I've watched him, but he keeps talking about remedy. What remedy does he have? What remedy does he have? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where we need to have another conversation with him, even in the private. I don't care, between us. What can we do together to form a remedy or two that the people can act on and we can get done together? Because I think he understands the affidavit. He supports it. He understands what it is and the power of it. But I think together we can do it. I can maybe get Matt DePerno, Lynn Wood, and other attorneys on the call because I feel that there is a remedy. We just got to be on the same page and we got to let everyone know about it. Am I wrong in thinking that way?
I think you're 100% right, Josh. I mean, here's the thing. You could talk about probability or you could talk about theory, right? So if you have a theory, that's one thing. Probability is another thing. And when you look at probability, you look at the number of times that something happened and is it getting to the point where it is still chance that it happened? So when we talk about the 100+ businesses that had bar attorneys that they paid money to, right? That could not help them get out of being locked down. We have those 100 and something businesses that sent 100 and something notices or affidavits. Some of us went after district attorneys for trying to go against the entities if they tried, and the district attorneys actually stopped their actions against the people. Dropped cases, all types of stuff. Did you not witness that, Josh?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, when we understand that we have done things that are not normal to bar attorneys who live in their world as bar attorneys, they see what they see. They're not seeing everything that's happening everywhere else. And so when we do something, if we got over 100 and something businesses open in the private that will tell you that they are actually open and they told the government they were going to be open, gave them notice, why do we play this game like it's not real life where all these entities are open? I mean, Josh, can you say that there's over 100 entities open right now because of work that was done and everyone served a notice on the government?
Every single one of them, and yes, it's well over 100, I think 110, 112, if I remember correctly.
So they're still having their entities take in membership fees while other entities have been closed for a very long time or affected. So is that not real life?
Or forcing mass mandates and taking away their constitutional rights too.
Yep. Now see, sheriffs have guns, right? Police have guns. Now, some of these gyms have had police come to their door and force them to get out or arrest them, right? Have you ever seen anybody in one of the private associations that got put together by us that they have the police kick their door down and take them away after they get a PMA and they know about it?
No, they go sign up so they can work out.
Okay. So this is real world. And I understand a lot of people say that there is theory and all this stuff, right? The problem is that in the world of bar attorneys today, you can go around the states, and I would challenge anybody to find a bar attorney who opened up 50 businesses and went against the government during this time and actually have the entities open without, all this crazy harassment. Because Everybody talks about theory. I don't live in theory. I know the real business. I didn't go to school for business law, but I'm the one who came out and told people about private entities being totally separate from government control. And then we wrote the government and begged them to tell us we were wrong. And out of over 100 notices going out, not one person in the whole government or attorney could respond and say that we were wrong. And then they just happened to let it go and let people do their thing. See, they have people with guns. They have what they call enforcement that arrested a lot of people in America. And y'all saw them on TV getting arrested. And at the same time you saw people on TV getting arrested, you saw people lifting weights and taking pictures and talking about it and posting it on their Instagram. And we even know of situations where the police was saying, I would leave this guy alone completely. But what happened is that he's talking about it and showing everybody. So I kind of want to mess with him. So why don't you just go arrest him then? You won't arrest him. You'll walk by and take pictures, but you won't arrest them. You'll make a case against them, and then for some reason you just drop the case and oh yeah, we didn't want to hold the case no more.
That's their way of trying to intimidate you, trying to get you to give in, to cave in.
Yep, and they killed the cases though, huh, Josh?
Yes,
Josh, you remember that one? You remember that one guy?
They killed the case.
You remember the guy in California? I said, here, hit him with this affidavit that he's going to realize he's going against his jurisdiction, and what's going to happen is that they're going to find a way to kill the case so that they don't go against the jurisdictional issues and get themselves in deep trouble.
They admitted it in the courtroom.
They admitted it. And then I told him, he said, man, my dad is a lawyer. I got friends that's lawyers. I got the best business attorney in the whole state of California. He even got me on a call with the guy. The guy told me that statute runs everything. The government can do whatever they want to do under statute and emergency. I said, that's a bunch of bull. The Constitution is where the law comes from and their authority. He said the Constitution is just a piece of paper. I said, well, the statute is made up under it, then what is that? Right? So he was mad. So what we got to understand is...
But he called you back, right?
Oh, and asked me to write his brief for him. Yeah. Can you write my brief? Or can you give me a whole bunch of cases and we can intertwine them into this case? See, that's the funny thing is he's the best attorney in the nation, but he don't realize the fundamental law. So when we hit that attorney general officer, whatever the freak he was, who tried to get a TRO or whoever the freak it was, what ended up happening is that, hold on a second. What ended up happening is that they tried to give him a TRO and then ended up letting some time go by and drop the TRO like it never happened. So they didn't infringe on him. Right? So that's what it is. Catherine Billings, David, you're stressing me to bleep out. Let David finish his sentence. You aren't meaning to be, but you're being arrogant. You're acting like you can't be wrong. No, it's not about acting like I can't be wrong. Let me help you understand something. He made a statement.
Debate, people. It's
a
damn debate.
He stopped me.
To fight. If Professor Clements wasn't fighting Dave back and Dave wasn't fighting him back, I don't even want to be on here.
Yeah, it's powder
puff. There's no point even talking if you're all just going to be all proper and nice. And
yeah.
Like, we're supposed to be like this a little bit. But what ended up happening? It was in general, it was a great conversation.
Yes. And the thing is that when you're dealing with high emotional issues where people's grandparents are dying in hospitals and people can't see them and people can't go to their graduations. Kids are forced to wear mask and falling down at times, losing their ability to breathe. They're being told in schools to lay on their back if they get too dizzy and take their mask off a little bit. So I don't give a freak about not being able to be a little emotional or charged, right? That's what we have to do. That's what happens with legislative body members when they're arguing over the rights of the people and what's happening. Another thing is, he clearly said, David, I'm going to stop you and call you and say that's BS. And I'm like, good, I welcome you. Go ahead. Call me on my BS if I got it, right? And then he went on to say some stuff, and then I said some more stuff, and he said, I agree with you, I agree with you, I agree with you. So I need to understand, where is the BS? So when I go back and I started reading out of your book, yes, I'm putting you in a corner that don't feel good. I'm putting you in a place where you don't want to talk about the book. I know what the freak I'm doing. My schooling is in psychology. That's what my degree is in. So When I make you open up your book, I know you don't want to look in there. I know it's uncomfortable. And then the truth starts to come out. You start saying that book don't mean nothing. The statute does. Oh, really? So why are you teaching out of it? See, this is what I do on purpose to let y'all see that when you open up the door to let people see what they really believe is really not what you think they believe. And people will sell you something as a group and not even believe in it themselves. That's what I'm letting you see. Either you believe in the book. Now, we notice he was dismissive to the book, right? How the freak I'm going to show you your stuff and you going to dismiss it? I'm not being mean to him right now, nothing like that. I'm just trying to let y'all see real life so we can go back and look at and make a decision about what we saw.
Hey, Dave, you know what's funny? The last time we had an attorney, no, I'm not talking about the professor. I'm talking about
Mark Nader.
Yeah. Well, not even him. He's that guy's just worthless. I'm sorry, guy. I'm not being mean, that guy's worthless. The attorney we met at the Republican headquarters, and he was just being very dismissive. Oh, that's so.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
That's so 6 years ago. Like we don't you don't know what you're talking about. And what happened? They got those affidavits that weren't affidavits kicked out and called spam. So the one thing I liked about Professor Clements is that he was debating, and it was a spirited debate. But he wasn't being dismissive. He wasn't, I think it was just a spirited debate, and I didn't get the sense that he was being dismissive. And a lot of lawyers that are highly educated, like he is, like you said earlier in the conversation, a lot of people that are like that they get dismissive. And because, he's not a lawyer, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Oh, he's just a business owner, he's just a gym owner. He's a meathead who just lifts weights, right? I've heard it all. But when I point out the obvious and I use common sense, they don't have much to say. And that's all you're saying is, listen, I'm literally showing you what it says. I'm not making this up.
And look,
and he's agreeing with you. His big hang up was remedy, which I talked about a little bit of remedy, and I know you brought it up. We talked about certain things that can be remedied, constitutional arbitration and initiatives, right? So those are remedies to the situation. But
you know what his remedy?
Maybe he has better remedies in his mind, but what remedies does he have is what I want to ask.
I can tell you the remedy he had. The remedy he had was the guys who are in his profession have the biggest gun. That's really what it boiled down to. We got the sheriff. What y'all gonna use is what he's literally saying. The way that it works right now, the sheriff works with us. Oh, okay, that's cute. Just wait, because we're teaching like crazy. Give it a couple of days. And this is what I realized. While you're sitting there thinking that things are the way they are, I'll be behind the scenes freaking teaching so many people how to freaking tear your anus up that by the time you open your eyes and look, it'll be a crowd of people around you who realize that your gun means nothing because you're not going by the law. See, the American people saw the king say that he was going to take stuff from them, tax them money that they didn't have the right to tax them. And they had the biggest gun in England. And they said, well, this is the way things are. We're going to come take your freaking rights away. We're going to take your power to do commerce. We're going to take this and take that, right? We're going to force you to buy this tea. And then the people started realizing, wait, by the law, they don't have the power to do that. This is pretended legislation. This ain't real legislation. This fake stuff. Oh, shucks. Well, what we going to do? We're going to give him notice and let him know you better listen to us because the day is going to come where you're going to stop you, right? And the people of America today realize that you guys have the blood of the same people who did this to the king. This is why they don't want us coming together, understanding what the law says. Because if the law is known, the same people who freaking destroyed the king and made freedom in America today are the same people who y'all came from who do the same freaking thing right now. Now, they're not going to push it to that because they know the power of the American people is no freaking joke. So when they start getting notice and realizing what the law says, those who have good hearts in our nation are going to say, man, I've been doing it the wrong way. I messed up. Let me make just like in your life, Josh. Yeah. I know for a fact, and I ain't going to talk about who it is, but there's multiple government officials who talk to you regularly in different places who listen to your advice, who literally will say, Josh, what do I do in this situation where I'm fighting in the law? They come to Josh. So I understand this. Now, we can't talk about this out in the open because the same people who are hating on me and saying, Dave, you ain't seen your kids. Ha ha ha. How are you helping other people? Are going to go to the government officials like they've been doing and saying, are you the one David and them are talking to? Are you the one? Who else? Right? Somebody said too much emphasis on enforcement being used as force. I'm still thinking compliance. See, this is the funny thing.
What they do, what the bar does and what they're doing and what the government does in general is they divide the people and they block information.
Yeah.
So by knocking those divisions down, releasing
gag orders, putting gag orders on
exactly.
you can't talk about your case.
Yeah, releasing information, releasing this type of information to the people that you and Professor Clements, don't call them the professor people because I get it confused with the and one guy. And it kind of
the Hoover.
So I call Bentley. Bentley's the professor. You know, he's working on his skills. But so Professor Clements and David are we need I'm going to get us on another conversation even between us privately because I feel that if we work together, we can come up with some mutual remedies to the situation because I feel he wants to do something to fight back. But my question is, what has he actually done to fight back? What results has he gotten with his fight? Now,
well, you should say it like this.
I want to remedy. Help him. I want to help him however we can. You know what I mean? Because listen, I'm a gym owner, I'm a business owner here in California. I study politics. I read constantly. Dave knows. Like I love the Constitution, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. But I want to help him however he could possibly, whatever he's doing. I want to help. I want to help bring this together and find mutual remedy that we can put out to the people to have a plan of action. Because I get tired of the talking. I want action.
Amber McClure said something deep. She said, Dave, you are right. The professor's only argument or question was who is going to represent we the people. And that's the thing, guys. See, it's very easy for the government officials when they have the majority and you don't know to keep breaking the law. It is hard for them to break the law in front of your face when you know every law they're breaking. And that's what the issue is. Yes, Sandra, it does deal with brainwashing. See, when you say, David, how are you going to stop Debo from taking your chain? He's bigger than you. He's stronger than you. How are you going to stop Goliath from destroying Israel? His weapons are bigger than yours. He has the power right now. And this is the problem. Go read Psalm 37. In Psalm 37, you see where God tells that the wicked is growing like a green bay tree. So they're growing really fast and powerful and they're almighty. And God says he laughs at them because he knows their day is coming and they're about to be chopped down like the grass. See, when somebody's in front of your face, big and powerful and doing all this stuff, God has the ability to raise up people who will not stand for that bull and will fight it with everything they have. And then God uses that little bitty nothing to knock out something really big because that's how God gets the glory. So when people say this stuff like, well, David, I'm going to come down to reality. Show me what you are going to use. What are you going to use to get your remedy? Well, the thing is, we must understand that in history, in the Bible, God used his servants who trusted in him, who had faith that believed that they can do something different. God will tell his people, if you are scared, go home. If you believe I can't do it, let a man who is double-minded in all of his ways know that he will get nothing from God, right? A man without faith is unstable in all of his ways. So when you look at your enemy or the ones who are doing you wrong and you say, what's going to happen? How do we fix this? Let's look at a real life example. Prohibition in America. Prohibition was happening and people thought that is nothing we could do because the government is telling us we can't have alcohol. There was a few people, less than 3%, 180,000 people in America removed prohibition. People talk about remedy. Did they have guns better than the government? No. Did they have the sheriff doing everything they say? No. but 180,000 people stopped prohibition. So when you got this idea, well, nothing's going to ever happen because it's this way now, that is a very sad way to look. If you can only look
that's a way
into
that
your current.
I can't accept that way, that line of thinking.
Yep.
I can't accept that. That's not okay with me. You know, they said, who's we the people? We are we the people. I keep repeating myself, but educating the masses on their rights is how we win. That's how we do it, because that's how we can easily remove people from office with recalls. Because listen, if we start a recall, like we the people, as he started a recall, and it was very difficult because not enough people were educated enough on the process or educated enough on their rights to be mad enough outside of just what they were doing to know what they can do. So it took a long time for them to get people out there like, hey, listen, here's how we do it. And it took so long that it probably, I know they got really close on a few of them, but it took so long that you know, but now it's educating. I feel like I'm on a broken record, but the more people know, because the initiatives is how this is one thing put in every state constitution to take back control. Recall, look at Newsom. His ass is gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
That's how we control our
people. Wait, can I ask you that? Because that's something very important, Josh. And I think that's what I love about your personality so much. So, Josh, 2 years ago, we saw people fighting over vaccine issues and not wanting them to be able to force them. I saw a brilliant group of ladies called the Freedom Angels and a couple of other groups that were in California making history because they were getting arrested, knocked down, hit with batons. And Sandra RN, they were standing up and they said, look, we are not going for this. You will not trample our rights. And then they started the recall. Now, Josh, is it normal for people to get recalled in California? Not normal, right? No. So couldn't they have just said, this is how it is, and you hit me with your police baton, I'm going to just give up because they got the bigger guns now? Well, what happened to Newsom?
It takes, the people were fed up, right? Obviously, which we all are. But I think they had a mass education campaign going on in California. Now remember, guys, this takes a lot of money too. It takes a lot of money. You need people going out, getting these signatures, the paper itself. I mean, it has to be a certain way, a certain size, like Mike Lindell's always saying. You know, it has to be exact, perfect. You know, has to be notarized each page. You know, so there's a lot to the process. And I think here in Arizona we learned a lot. With the battle that We the People AZ put out, because they put out a hell of a battle, and I think we learned a lot from that, because it also brought, for me, the most important thing that recall brought was not the fact that it was successful or not. It brought awareness, and it made people aware, and it made people go out and learn, and it made people understand their rights. Kind of what we're trying to do here is teach these people, and I think that is the number one thing that happened. Now, I'm very, very confident the next time there's any type of recall or initiative, as we keep spreading this message and information, that recall will be successful. Extremely successful.
You just got to show the people, and the brave people in California, who they usually say California is soft and just full of Dems or rhinos, you know, California made it freaking happen. So if God used, you know, the Freedom Angels, Sandra RN, and all these powerful, there were more women than men in California. Women rose the freak up in California and knocked the snot out of the establishment. And I think the women of California need to have that praise and honor given to them, because what they did is show what was necessary to be able to stand and fight. And they didn't give up. But guess what? Everything they were doing, the odds were stacked against them in the world's eyes. It looked like it was not possible. It looked like it was too hard. At one time, the Freedom Angels used to go in front of the courthouses and Sandra RN, like 3 of them or 1 of them, by them freaking selves. And people look at them like, you stupid idiot. You're killing your children. You're not doing this and that because you don't believe in vaccines and all this stuff, right? And they kept fighting, and they kept teaching, and they kept growing. And they got knocked down a little bit. It was tough. It was a fight. It was gritty, but they kept going. And people got to go on video and watch them multiply every single day. And then it started to explode. And then the government officials and the new Health Organization, WHO. We've seen them on the show saying, oh my gosh, they're growing 500 times faster than us. Don't call them conspiracy theorists no more. Talk about their families no more. Wait, so the World Health Organization knew the plan? Y'all were on there infiltrating groups, calling them crazy on purpose so they wouldn't rise up? Why were you so afraid of the Freedom Angels and Sandra Ariane and all those powerful people in California rising up? Oh, shucks, because if they rise up, they'll freaking remove everybody. And the governor is proof. So this is the truth, y'all.
And that happened in Democrat California.
Yes, this is the thing. When these people talk this stupid stuff about, well, they got the guns. Screw all that. They got power. They got attorneys. They got more money. Shut the freak up with that whining soft stuff. Real people today. Yes, real people today are doing real freaking things. So this is why I want to have this conversation, because we can't just look at what somebody calls enforcement because they got the biggest gun right now, right? We can't do that. We got to look at what the freak are we going to do? What are we going to do to be able to have things change? The people of California just showed you. We are growing exponentially with knowledge. Now, we're going to get off soon. I just want to, excuse me. I want to show you guys one thing to help you understand where I'm getting this from. Now, your forefathers fought against the king, and your forefathers knew the exact remedy. See, I appreciate the professor telling me, Dave, I hear what you're saying. I agree with everything you say in theory and all this stuff, but Dave, show me what the remedy is. So if we gonna take remedy, guys, should we take remedy from those who win, or should we take remedy from those who don't fight and lose? Which one would y'all say? What'd you say, Josh?
I would tend to side with the winners.
Okay,
that's
so I'm going
to thing to do, right?
Yep, I'm going to show something real quick so we can see this. Now, I'm telling y'all, government officials don't want you to know this. Many attorneys don't want you to know this. Let me know if y'all can see my screen. Can you see my screen, Josh?
Yes.
Okay, Section 2 of the Bill of Rights of Virginia, that all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people. I told them this was a trust indenture. That magistrates, the government workers, are their trustees and servants, and at all times amenable to them. Now, we have certain rights, y'all, to go against them. Let's see what this says. Government instituted for what? Your common benefit, not their own. Watch this. That government, now these people just got done beating the king, y'all, so we ain't got to freaking act like this is theory. This is real freaking life. How did they say they did it? That government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community. Josh, is this just talking about Virginia? If they're talking about security of the people, nation, or community?
Nope, talking about everyone in this country.
There you go. Of all the various modes and forms of government, that is best, which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is most effectually secured against the danger of maladministration. Now watch this. And whenever any government, is this just for Virginia? Is this just for Virginia?
It's for
everyone. There you go. Whenever any government, now he asks, how does it look when you're going to make somebody follow what you're saying, Dave? I understand the concept. What does it look like? Here's what it looks like. Whenever any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community hath an indubitable. You can't second guess it. You can't challenge it. Inalienable. You can't lean it. And indefeasible right to reform, alter, or abolish it. He says, how? What does that look like? In such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public will, the public good. So he asks, how in the world are you going to do it? What does that look like? However the freak we decide to set it up as the people. Did you catch that, Josh?
Yeah.
Now, he asked me, Dave, I need to know what it looks like. Tell me how, because attorneys are taught procedure. That's what they focus on. What is the procedure to do this? What is the procedure? What is the procedure? If they don't see a procedure, they don't really know how to fix stuff, right? So qualities necessary to preservation of a free government. Watch this. That no free government nor the blessings of liberty can be preserved to any people. Is that the whole nation or just a few people or a few states? The whole nation. But by a firm adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, frugality, and virtue. Now, by his own admission, the people in this profession are doing things that are breaking the law and going against this. But watch. By frequent recurrence to the fundamental principles. So they're telling you how you preserve the nation. You got to frequently teach the government officials fundamental principles, because they always going to try to come up with some crazy doctrine or idea that lets them take power that's not theirs. And by the recognition by all citizens that they have duties as well as rights, and that such rights cannot be enjoyed save in a society where the law is respected and due process is observed. So if you don't respect the law enough as the people to tell your government over and over and over again, then you're going to let your government go and you're going to become a slave. Last part. That free government rests. Dave, how in the world are we going to stay free? How are we going to get free? Very easily. The very thing they don't want. That free government rests, as does all progress. So what's the remedy to get free government and for the people to be able to do what they want to do and not be oppressed? Upon the broadest possible diffusion of knowledge.
Of knowledge,
right?
huh?
Yeah. So when people say, what does remedy look like, Dave? How can you show me exactly how we're going to do it? My forefathers who won already, they said, if you want to have a free government, teach the government frequently. Hey, wait, somebody just said something. Sciencey, while they are still talking about this, embarrassing. Hey, that's why you're enslaved. Because you haven't been talking about it, and that's why you're still getting enslaved and wearing masks and can't go where you want to go because you don't talk about it. So give yourself a pat on the back. So the thing is, guys, what we got to understand is if we want freedom, we got to do what our forefathers said to do. And if we're going to get past all this foolishness, we have to teach. We got the internet now. That's why they're killing our pages. We can disperse this information far and wide and teach millions of people in the time that it would take. I'm sorry, in such a quick time, right? That to teach this many people the law that as we have in this last couple of years would probably take 10 years with no internet. But we're doing this stuff really quickly, and it's days now. Things are moving quickly. But I do want to say that we are getting ready to close out. I thank everybody for coming on. You guys are blessed. You guys are amazing. Josh, I thank you for coming on and being a big buff referee and keeping an eye on things.
I'm the worst referee ever because I was joking. I said, I'm not going to let this fight stop until somebody falls to the ground. So listen. That's
a good referee.
Listen, I truly believe in open conversation, even an argument. Mm-hmm. Even though it never turned into an argument, you might have had different ideas on certain things, but I thank Professor Clements for coming on and having the conversation.
Amen.
And, I think honestly, I really believe that when we talk to him again, I'll text him and talk in the private. I think that I think we could come, like I said, one or two mutual remedies that we could push nationwide to give the power back to the people. And that's what
right.
we want. That's the number one goal,
right.
Regardless of how we get there. Honestly, I don't really give a damn how we get there. I just want to get there.
That's right.
Whether it's the way we've been doing it, affidavits, maybe he has some other, way of destination that he wants to go. Whatever it is, let's do it. Right? Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get it done. But, what I do feel that what we've been doing, what David's been doing with affidavits and how we've been doing stuff has coincidentally been just kind of working. So, and people can say what they want about it. I really don't care. Like I said, all I care is about the end result, right?
That's right.
So the end result was there's a forensic audit in Maricopa. Regardless of how it got there, you can say it had nothing to do with it or not. I don't really care. Mm-hmm. We have a forensic audit. We're the only ones that have a forensic audit in the whole country. A true forensic audit over everything.
Yep.
Now, Antrim's still fighting, and we're using affidavits and Antrim with Matt DePerno. Matt sees the value in this. Lynn Wood sees the value in this in Georgia. So don't tell me that this doesn't have any teeth to it. And I'm not saying Professor Clements said that. He agreed that this is something that should be done. So we just got to keep fighting. We're going to work together. We're going to talk some more and find something. If there's something outside of the affidavits to bring remedy, then let's do it. But right now, this is how we're fighting, and this is how we're going about it. So everybody, spread the word, share, jump on board with what we're doing, because this is how we can do it. This is our 1776. It's right now. If we don't do it now, people, it's going to get really, really bad.
It ain't happening. I want everybody to go to. First of all, I want to say I like Professor Clements. I'm thankful for his fight. I'm thankful for him sharing his internal fight. I tell you guys all the time, I got the death threats. I got the death attempts. I got people who do trafficking of kids who come after me, write nasty stories about me with fake news channels, and people don't know the difference. Make up things that I've never even saw or places I've been to say things about me. And so I can understand his struggle. I can understand the thousands of emails, and Josh has been able to see some of the people saying, oh yeah, we killing you. We gonna come see you. We gonna do this and that. Other people have seen it. So I respect him for that. I love his fire. I love his fight. I love a man who stands on what he believes in. Now, I don't always agree with what people say they believe in. And I will say, okay, so do you believe in this that you use, or do you not believe in this that you use? Is not to punish him or to dog him. It is to force upon the reasonable mind that when it comes to government now, some of their biggest excuses are, we got the biggest gun. What we wrote don't mean a thing, and what we swear to don't mean a thing, and they just need you to accept it.
Yeah,
and
by them telling us what, if we give an affidavit to somebody that has constitutional principles in it, or what's in the Bill of Rights, and they're saying it doesn't mean nothing. You're telling me that your oath don't mean jack. You know what?
You swore and took money.
What you swore to doesn't mean jack. So what's going on here? You know, that should really wake people up even more. If you're telling me stop sending me notices, stop sending me affidavits, well, then you're telling me that the oath you swore to doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything to you. It's just a piece of paper. So why are you in office?
That's right. Are you?
That's just how I feel about it. So
that's what it all boils down to, and that's why I tell people, people say, well, look, don't be divided. Look, man, me talking about things don't mean that I'm divided. It's kind of like if you say black people shouldn't shoot each other so much in the ghetto, as white people in America today, they say you racist. Nobody should shoot each other. So if a lot of black people are getting shot and you're racist for just saying that, we can't talk about stuff because you're a racist just because you bring it up. Or you can't say you believe in two genders and believe in God because somebody will say you're homophobic. So you can't talk about that. Stop freaking telling me what I can't talk about. Stop telling people what they can't talk about. That's why we're in trouble today, because we become soft pansies that let people do whatever the freak they want to do with your life. And they're going to tell you, you have to call me what I identify as. Okay, well, you got to call me free then. I identify as free. Now treat me like it. Right? No. We can't just make up what we got to live in reality. We can't just make up what we want people to do and think and say. We have to start dealing with real issues like big boys and big girls. And if you can't do it, this might not be the fight for you. Stand on the side. But we're going to do it. We're going to fight, and we'll fight for you too. And when the reward comes back, we'll give you your share. But we're not going to sit here and say nothing. So with that said, I want to say I love you guys. I want to say peace. Josh, thank you for coming on once again, bro, dropping some fire, giving us some good wisdom, ways to think about things, fixing people's thyroids, And I want to say we love y'all. Everybody sub to Josh. Everybody go over to Professor Clements' page and tell him thank you for coming and talking with us. Let him know that David Jose loves him and loves his fire, and thanks him for the fight that he has shown, that he told us about the behind the scenes where they're attacking him. I think that we should rally around him and not allow for the bar to attack him. And
there's no reason for anybody to be attacking him, especially our people.
Yeah,
you don't need to be attacking him. He's on our side. He's on our side.
Yeah.
So just because you have a few differences doesn't matter. He's on our side, and we're gonna find a way to work together. and get this message out to the country.
That's right. We can discuss the principles and ideas, guys, and we can get riled up a little bit because we believe in what we believe in and we want the people to hear the truth. And that's our goal. I believe that's his goal. Like I said, we're not going to agree on everything right away, but I think in time we'll come together and be able to see the work that God does between all of us. And we'll see that everybody is coming together that is supposed to come together, because some people ain't for the system. I'm sorry, the fight. The people who do come together will see good blessings, and God will take care of what God takes care of, and we will have joy. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Make sure y'all go tell Professor Clements, David sends his love. No more drama, y'all. No hate or whatever. Don't say nothing bad. Just understand that big people got to talk sometimes, and it's all good. It's what we should do. So I'll catch you guys later. Y'all be cool. Stay out of trouble. Peace.